All right, cool. Well, Rhett, I appreciate you coming, man.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, I had Mark on, who was fantastic. Met him at the gym that we go to. Incredible musician, man, and
He's fantastic.
Yeah, and
Man, he's so good.
he couldn't talk enough about you, man. Like he just, he was like, you got to get this guy on, man, and talk to him.
You know, Mark and I have known each other for, I mean, technically we've known each other since we were kids. Started out, I played football for his dad. Jim.
Oh, really? I was wondering how you guys met.
Yeah, no, I played football for his dad, and another buddy of ours named Larry Engel also played, and we knew Brad, his older brother, and he was just he was our equipment manager. Mostly what he just did was wreak havoc.
Oh yeah.
And I mean that lovingly. I love the guy to death. But I mean that was our first interaction. Was junior high football.
Were you guys playing at that young of an age as well, or did you guys not play till later on?
No. I played like viola and stand-up bass when I was in sixth grade, but
Nice.
nothing like that. Nothing like playing guitar or anything like that. I had a guitar when I was like 15, 16 years old, but I didn't put a whole lot of work into it.
Okay.
And then eventually I didn't have time for it and got busy with other things, and I kind of put the guitar down.
Yeah. Actually, let's do that. Let's kind of go down memory lane. I kind of want to hear like when you first started out, getting into music and stuff like that. Because I'm sure at a young age.
Yeah, how young? You were like talking about like when I played.
Yeah, just upbringing.
Oh, upbringing. I'm the son of a hairdresser and a over the road truck driver.
Oh, nice.
My parents were working class people. And,
OTR. That's rough. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, it was.
He was gone a lot.
Oh, he was gone all the time.
Yeah.
He did a lot of coast to coast runs.
Yeah.
So he would haul soap from downtown Kansas City, old Colgate factory.
Oh, really?
Out to like Fort Huachuca, Arizona, and then run up to Idaho, pick up potatoes, and then run into Washington D.C.
Yeah, it's crazy how much like
then
people
come home, and then he'd be home for maybe a week at best. Sometimes only 3 or 4 days, and then he'd be back out on the road again. And
That's such a hard gig, man. Like truck drivers.
Oh, it is.
Oof.
It's tough.
My brother did it, and he just, what did Dominic do it for? 3-4 years? Maybe longer?
Maybe like
2-3 years?
But he was only doing like.
Yeah, he was doing local stuff, but I could imagine OTRs, man. Like that just, I watched guys, for some reason, I went into like a YouTube dive on like OTR drivers and the shit they have to do and like, just like, the life they live, living on the road, man.
Yeah.
That's like,
Well,
that's crazy.
I mean, Dad loved it, and for Dad had multiple trucks throughout his life. He was owner operator more than he was driving somebody else's truck.
Right.
So he owned his own truck, and then he would do what they call a trip lease to various different companies around the country, around the city, whatnot. But it was always, like I said, he'd pick up something here local, take it out to the West Coast, and then run up somewhere else, pick something else up, and then run it to the East Coast, and then come home.
Well, they say that's the only way to make money, like good money.
Yeah,
I guess.
And he did decent money. He made good money, but he
sacrificed time though.
He had 3 kids he had to take care of. So I have a stepbrother and stepsister. We're a split family. We're a successful split family. Really.
Oh, good.
Yes, me and my mom, and then my brother, my sister, and my dad. Those are his kids.
Oh, okay.
And I was a baby when they met.
Really?
My mom and dad met. Wow, I'm going to end up getting really personal here.
Hey, you take it as deep as you want, man.
No, it's. I've got an enormous amount of respect for my father.
Yeah.
He met my mom, and she was just like, I've got this 6-month-old kid. And he's like, you really want to take that on? He's like, no, absolutely, let's do this. I guess it was like a couple of days or maybe a week after they met. My mom was going to go out to Colorado Springs to see my Aunt Marie and take me out there for the first time to see her. And, my soon-to-be stepdad, they had just met, and he was like, well, can I go with you? Can I go with you? Go meet your aunt and, all this and whatnot. She was just like, fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is that okay?
No.
Okay.
You can cuss, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I'm a potty mouth.
Nah, you're good, man. You're good. All's welcome here.
So yeah,
Yeah. No,
he was down to take it on,
Yeah.
and she knew that he was an over the road truck driver, and that was going to be somewhat difficult. My mom had just finished up hairdressing school, and my grandmother actually owned a beauty salon that was in the house. She converted the garage to a hairdressing salon.
Oh, that's neat.
And then had a garage added on the back. So that's what my mom and my grandma, they ran the beauty salon from grandma's house, and that's where I got my education as a young man.
Oh, yeah.
Is being raised in a beauty salon by a bunch of women, and not only by a bunch of women, but by the greatest generation of women, the World War II generation.
Yeah. You got your master's degree on women and
yeah, and I still don't know anything about them. To be completely honest with you, they're still a mystery to me.
Yeah,
but
they can be very complex.
But you know what? I'll tell you what, they're every bit as nasty and hard as men are. When they get in their sewing circle like that.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So every time a woman's like, men are this and men are that, it's just like, you know what? Don't tell me that.
Oh, yeah. I've never once believed that.
Because I've seen it. I grew up with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they try to act like they don't have guy talk as well.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They do.
It's horrible. It's horrible. It really is.
Yeah.
But
that's another thing, too, man, is that, like I was talking about your father, being an over-the-road truck driver, being hard, but man, it had to have been hard on your mother as well. Like we kind of look past
three kids.
Yeah. Well, I don't like, when dudes are like, what is she complaining about? He's bringing home the money, blah, blah, blah. He's taking care of her. Yeah, but you don't think that she's making a sacrifice as well, not having the man that she loves at home, or
100%.
having a second parent there to help her?
And having to work full-time on top of it.
And having to work full-time,
Because, I mean, this is the 1980s, dude. And, in the 1980s, it was a hard life for an owner-operator truck driver.
Oh, I bet.
There were a lot of strikes in the 1980s. Hell, like mid-1980s, Dad carried a pistol in his truck with him everywhere he went, because, I mean, he was a scab. He wasn't a union guy. He was an independent.
Oh, was the union? Yeah.
He was an independent trucker.
Yeah.
And,
Union didn't play around back then.
No, it's Teamsters, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Jimmy Hoffa type shit. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and Pops was very adamant about, because, he was an independent contractor. He was very adamant about, doing things his way and, not being, not being caught up in, an organization that's going to require him to do this and do that and sign here on the dotted line. It just wasn't his way. So.
Yeah, and I see the positives from the union, but there's also negatives as well, man.
Sure.
Just like in anything,
unions are like any other organization. They are highly corruptible.
Yeah, good
now,
and bad.
Public unions a whole different story. I don't like public unions. I don't think they should exist at all.
What do you mean public unions?
Public unions, like unions within the government.
Oh, yeah.
Because my whole thing is, why should a union be able to collectively bargain against the taxpayer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that's not right.
Yeah, because they're being paid by us. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no union against us.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, that I'm totally against. But, private unions, they have good things to them and they have their drawbacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
We both live in a right-to-work state, though. I'm in Kansas, you're in Missouri. It's both right-to-work states, so.
For sure.
Yeah,
I've never understood the union bashing. Like, I understand discussing the bad parts about the union and things that they do, because I've heard a lot. But a lot of the times when I talk to guys, like, I'm a machinist. I've been a machinist for a long time. I've done that, and then I've been in project management as well. But like anytime I hear a discussion on the floor of union, it's always like, oh, well, I don't want to give them my money.
Sure.
Well, union dues aren't really that much, and if you think about it, you say that, or the other one is, they protect the people that are lazy. It's like, well, we're in a non-union shop now, and there's lazy people.
Most of the staff where I work is lazy.
Yeah, so it's like, I understand what you're saying, but there's always going to be lazy people, man.
It doesn't hold up to scrutiny. That argument just doesn't hold up.
No. If they could actually break down things that they legitimately don't like, then I would understand. But if it's just those two things, it makes no sense, because I'm like, well, look at some of the positives as well. Like they're kind of setting the standard for like blue collar wages,
Sure.
and not all of them, but some of them have really good benefits and stuff like that, and retirement.
The biggest risk to with unions, whether public or private, is the corruption.
Right.
That's the big risk.
That's anywhere, though.
And that's
you work for a company that has shareholders. There's corruption. You know what I mean?
It's 100%.
So
100%
anytime, I always laugh, when I hear these companies and they're at meetings and talking about, having to either cut costs or trying to find ways to increase profit, and it's never. Creating better, they do try to create better process and procedures. A lot of the times they fail at that. I don't know why. But instead of like logical thing, it's either, well, let's just pay less or cut hours or lay off or, these things like that. It's like, why? Like that's still a form of corruption, and they're not, I guess maybe not necessarily corruption, more of a, I don't know, what would you call that? I mean, I'm just thinking of stupidity, but I didn't have a better term for that. I mean, it's like why are you guys a business? You know what I mean? Like you guys are fucking with numbers and graphs and shit, trying to make it look as like we're doing okay and we're not.
Right. I mean, it's look, I deal with that every day.
Yeah,
we've got the corporate office trying to run 40 restaurants from a laptop.
Yeah.
And none of them have any practical experience. And they think if they just jockey some things around that it's going to work. Well, it doesn't necessarily work on the ground.
Yeah.
You tell people that are in the trenches, you got to do this, this, and this. And it's like, well, I need this, this, and this to be able to do my job. And you can't give me that. So it's just, there's a huge disconnect between
the field and the office, pretty much.
Yeah, between the upper echelons of the corporate world and the people that are actually doing the work on the ground.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's always been like that? The we're higher than you, we know better than you. And I'm not saying every company's like that.
And you know what? It didn't really used to be like that as bad. I mean, it used to be, corporate would set your basic set a basic framework for what they wanted as far as profit margins and whatnot. And then, we want you to work within, these basic means. But as far as day-to-day operations, go for it.
Right.
They hire, like in my industry, they hire, you hire chefs and line cooks and servers and front of the house managers and dishwashers and porters to do a job. Well, with the company that I work for, and I'm not going to say the name because I'm actually kind of talking some shit here about them. The company that I work for, they bring in an executive chef, not to run the kitchen. They just basically turn him into an accountant. And then they just have all of these people who have no culinary degree but have business degrees at corporate, trying to make decisions about food and about like workflow.
And they don't understand the processes of the kitchen.
Don't get it. They don't get how, they have no idea what the logistical side of it is. So,
you know what that is? I think it is. They don't train anybody up and I'm not speaking general here. Okay. I know there's great companies out there, but there's a lot of bad, a lot of bad from what I've seen. And I think what it is, man, is they're no longer really giving avenues for guys that, like, let's say the cook. Why don't they bring the one that's kicking ass on the floor and give him a pathway to that role?
Sure.
Instead of bringing in Joe Schmo with the degree, Exactly. Yeah, maybe Brian over here doesn't have a degree, but he fucking knows how to run a kitchen. You know what I mean?
Working your way up is not really a thing anymore.
I know.
It's you will work your way up to a certain point and then you hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
And you're not going to go any further.
Yeah.
Unless you go out and get a piece of paper.
I just mentioned that today, actually, about my job.
But I mean, my executive chef, he's got a degree from Johnson & Wales, South Carolina. So I mean, he is he's a classically trained chef.
Yeah.
I'm classically trained, but I just didn't go to school. I got it in the industry.
Yeah, but I don't think
I've
you
been doing it
have
for 30
to.
years.
Yeah, I don't think you have to.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I worked under a lot of really good chefs. I mean, hell, one of the guys that I came up under, he has been doing the Kentucky Derby, like been doing the food for the Kentucky Derby for the past 3 years.
Shit.
Yeah, he works for a company called Levy.
Oh, okay.
And they do like they have restaurants, but they also have a lot of different. They do like venues.
Oh, okay.
Like
they got a bar,
Milwaukee Bucks, and yeah, they do like sports venues. So they'll like do all the concessions and all the clubhouse stuff for like say Kansas City Royals or this sports team, that sports team.
Yeah.
Convention centers, things like that.
Yeah, I was just mentioning that today. It was like I was telling somebody about it, and that there was a position on the floor that the person that was working that position ended up going on to a different company, and hey, does anybody interested? Bring some of these guys with a lot of experience on the floor that could easily merge into that role. Would they need some training? For sure, they would need some training, but they have a good background in manufacturing.
Yeah.
They've seen it. They've been on the floor. They've touched it. They've set it up. They've done everything. Yeah. So they've done a lot of hands-on. You would think you'd want to bring up that person to that role, but instead they're hiring out to somebody that already has experience for that position, and I just think it's a slap in the face. And they wonder why people leave. It's like there's no pathway to success.
It's not even necessarily that they have experience in the position. Mm-hmm. Like you said, they've got that degree, but they may not have any practical experience.
Or they did a good job, fluffing up their resume.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane, man. I don't know, man. I would hope to see it reverse. I always feel like life is like a pendulum. It sways one way, and then it sways back, and I wish we'd stay more centered, but
that's not the way to roll, my friend.
It is not. It is not.
It's
yeah.
I think a lot of problem with that is that people are too, excuse me, people are too ideologically bent.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been I can't say always, past 20 years or so. I've always been real big on philosophy. I love philosophy. And the problem with ideology is that it's you can't, if you don't have a basis in philosophy, you really can't build an ideology. Philosophy is all about knowledge and abstract reasoning, and things of that nature. And ideology is all about more ideas that are kind of honed in and centered on specific things, So I don't know. I feel like, I'm choking here.
No, you're good, man. You're good. You're good. No, I get it. No, when I first read the book Meditations, that's kind of when I got into philosophy. By Marcus Aurelius. So I understand what you mean. I think what you're saying is you need to kind of find, in philosophy, it kind of centers you. It gives you, it helps you look at things objectively.
It gives you a basis.
Because that's the problem when it comes to ideology, is that it's all based off of emotions and feelings. And this is what I feel is right. This is what's right for people.
Sure.
And in reality, you need to take a step back, kind of take a step out of your body and look at things without any type of emotions or anything behind it, or what you were raised on, or what you endured, or what you went through, and look at things objectively. Yeah, and let's really, is this something that, is there an issue? Can we talk about it? We should be able to talk about it, and let's find a solution. You know what I mean? And that book really helped me, a lot. I have a lot of stuff highlighted in that book. And
Marcus Aurelius, man. Yeah. The obstacle is the way.
Yeah. And It had. I recommend that book to a lot of people, man. And I understand, when people are all like, you think of philosophy, they think of some woo type shit. But
no, it's not.
I don't think it is. I mean, these are things from 2000. That book is from 2,000 years ago or some shit. And
yeah, it's closer to 4.
yeah, a lot of relatable things that even to this day that we're enduring.
No, yeah, the thing about the meditations is that was basically his personal journal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that he didn't want released.
Yeah, that was
he would have been pissed if he knew he got
that
released.
was something that he never figured for a second that was going to see the light of day.
Do you ever think sometimes there's bullshit behind that though? The 5 great emperors, him being one of them, or yeah, that's what they call them, emperors, I think. Like they said that he was a very noble, humble man. I don't know, man. I just feel like what I see in today's world, and even throughout history, anybody with that type of power becomes corrupt at somehow. It's just too much. Money, women.
No, look at him.
Yeah.
During his reign, they did a lot of conquering.
Mm-hmm.
There was. I might be mistaken, but I think that the reign of Marcus Aurelius was the most expansionist throughout.
He wasn't as a kind-hearted man as we think. Maybe to his people.
Maybe to his people,
Yeah.
but I think maybe he brought the sword.
Mm-hmm.
More than he may have been a philosopher and he may have been a great thinker, but everybody gets corrupted by power to some extent.
Yeah, because even myself, I think about that. Would I be able to handle a position like that? And I don't think I could. I don't think anybody can. I think it's too much for one person.
I think it's being
being
too much for one person, but we're all susceptible to that kind of darkness.
Oh, for sure.
Alexander Solzhenitsyn said that the line of good and evil really kind of goes to the center of the heart of every human being. We can all, that's paraphrasing, but we're all capable of really horrible, horrible things.
For sure. It's just depending on the situation of what you're going to use that horrible thing for. If somebody hurt my kids, I'd do some unspeakable things.
Sure.
But I'm not going to do that to somebody innocent, Sure. At least I don't think I am.
Well, and then you have to think about the people that have horrible things done to them, and then they, just like that, they forgive them.
Yeah. Or I say too, take the most good person. Like I said, I think I would be that person, but if you put me in a situation to where I'm starving, and I have to provide for in some type of doomsday type apocalyptic scenario, I don't know. Maybe I would be one of these crazy cannibal The Road type. You ever seen that movie, The Road?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that type shit. Because we look at them like they're bad guys, and here's this noble guy walking through this world with his son, just trying to survive. I would hope I was that person,
right?
But I bet you a lot of those people in that truck that were hunting down those human beings, they were probably good people at one point too.
Sure. Sure.
So it's crazy.
Look at World War II,
mm-hmm.
and look at the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book that I read about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's called Ordinary Men. It's the story of the 101st Reserve Police Battalion in Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just one of the police battalions that was responsible for the atrocities in Poland,
mm-hmm.
where they would go into the Polish towns and they would bring Jews out of their homes
mm-hmm.
and then march them off into the woods and shoot them. And these were like shopkeepers, these reserve policemen. These weren't soldiers.
Yeah.
They weren't members of the SS.
Yeah.
These were shopkeepers and, lawyers and, street sweeps and,
yeah.
You know what I mean? They were just normal men, and they weren't indoctrinated by the Hitler Youth. These were people that were in their, that couldn't serve. So they were in their late 30s, up in their 40s and 50s even.
So what were they doing? It just for fun?
Well, the thing is they were actually given, when they got their orders.
Oh, so they were. I thought you said they were just doing it on their own.
No.
Okay.
Well, but here's the thing: when they got their orders, their commander took the battalion aside and said, "Look, this is what we're going to do," and explained to them, what they were about to undertake.
Yeah.
And gave them all the option to opt out. And most of them didn't. Which is a really scary thought.
Yeah. Kind of like when you're in a tribe of people, you tend to not want to be the odd one out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't want to be the first one to stand up, or even the second, third, or fourth, or fifth one to stand up and say, this isn't right. This isn't okay.
I bet they were looking at each other, though.
Oh, I bet
wondering
you they
if
were
somebody raised their hand, But.
I bet you they were too. Yeah. But it's just a stark reminder that human beings, you never know what's in their heart, and you never know what's going to motivate them. So just be wary.
I'm watching a World War II documentary right now, the World War II in color. Have you seen that on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm like 5th episode in.
I'm aware of it. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's really good. I recommend it. And documentaries are, it's hard to find ones that aren't as biased, that'll give, the entire context. But that's with anything, man, because you really got to cross-reference everything. And it's so hard. It's so difficult, even with politics.
You have to cross-reference everything, and it's best to stay away from legacy and corporate type of media and journalism.
Right.
I mean, everybody that I read, they're all independent journalists. Like, I'm a big fan of Matt Taibbi, Andy No, Douglas Murray. I'm actually reading his book right now on democracies and death cults.
Yeah, the problem is that when you have these like Douglas Murray type figures, he just debated, one of the guys I look up to the most is Dave Smith, and didn't do a very good job during that debate.
That's where you and I are going. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. That's where you and I are going to go like this.
For the first hour, I just continued to see, you're not an expert. You need to touch the soil.
That's not what he said, though.
He said that many times.
That's not what he was saying.
What did he mean?
That's not
what
what
did
he
he
was
mean
conveying.
by what he said?
So what he's trying to convey by that is that it's completely fine that Dave has the positions that he has and holds the positions that he holds, but to just have him be on Joe Rogan doing all of this, saying all of these things, a great deal of which is not. A lot of what Dave is saying is incorrect. It
depends on who you ask.
No, it really doesn't depend on who you ask.
But that's the problem with independent journalists, is that some are right and some are wrong.
Yeah.
It's just like corporate media. Some are right, some are wrong.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. My point being is that, yes, it's fine that Dave has these opinions, and he has a right to have these opinions, and nobody should deplatform him.
Right.
That's not what Douglas Murray is saying. But Douglas feels like he has not even a right, but an obligation to come on strong and lay down that, like, look, these things that you're saying, I've seen what's happening with my own eyes. That's what Douglas Murray is trying to put across, is that he's been there, seen it with his own eyes. And the bottom line is that, I'm going to have heart surgery. And Dave Smith walks in to do my heart surgery and says, hey, I've read a book and I've kind of gone through this a little bit and, did a little virtual reality. Going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to say, yeah, no, I actually want to have somebody who's performed a heart surgery working on me. And that's kind of the way that I look at it, is that, look, like I said, Dave can read as many books as he wants on it, and he can have all the opinions that he wants. but he has to be able to answer to all of the things that he's saying. And I don't think he really did that so much.
It's kind of hard when the other person's not debating.
How is he not debating?
By continuing for an hour and a half, telling him that he's not an expert and that he hasn't touched the soil. I mean, that was pretty much the first hour of that podcast, was just that. Them going back and forth on Dave explaining, I don't have to be there to be able to talk about these things. Because not only is Dave
doesn't
not
have to be there to talk
reading
about those things, but
right, but not only is he's not just reading books. I mean, he's following the journalists that he believes are giving the correct information, as well as Douglas Murray. I mean, Douglas Murray doesn't have a background in any of what he's talking about either. I mean, I don't even think he has a college degree in that, to be honest with you. I don't think he has like a...
In what?
In what would that be? What type of degree would that be for the whole issue of history degree? I don't know. I don't know what that would be.
Well, no.
I don't think he has that a degree, or for him to say he's the professional and Dave's not, I don't think either of them have a whatever degree that's requiring to discuss that.
But
and do you need to have a degree to discuss it?
No, you don't need to have a degree to discuss it. Yeah. But what really helps to discuss it is if you've been on the ground in those types of situations. I mean, Douglas Murray has, he's been embedded in combat situations on 3 continents. He's covered a lot of heinous shit.
And I could see how that would, how you say you'd be there, you'd have a better context of what's going on. I completely agree with that. But then you could also say, well, where was he? Who was taking him around to these areas? You know what I mean? Were they only showing him certain sides of Gaza? You know what I mean? Were they showing him the whole thing? Were they interviewing certain people?
I really don't believe that, they took him in and sent him, on what was the tours they used to call, people would go and visit Mao's China. They would send them on these tours where, it wasn't all Red Guard and, what do you call them? Where they put the dunce cap on you and
I don't know,
shame you, the public shamings that they did in Mao's China. Struggle sessions. It wasn't all struggle sessions and poverty.
Right.
They would stick you in, a nice hotel and, put you in a clean part of a city and, everything's hunky dory. I don't think that that's what was happening. I mean, he went into the kibbutz and, saw where the main part of the attack took place. He went into these kibbutz and saw these places where people were locked in their homes and burned to death alive. So that, and it wasn't his first trip to Israel. I mean, he was in Israel.
But what's his beef with Dave Smith on what he's discussing? Because all Dave Smith really discusses is that we need to stop the war. I mean, he's very big anti-war.
I agree. We need to stop the war, but we need to not have Hamas be in control of anything.
But wouldn't you say that's the outcome of a war? Is you're creating more terrorists? For every terrorist you kill, you're probably creating 5 more. Especially when you're blowing up buildings with, people in it. Well, and then just saying war is ugly.
Blowing up building. I mean, war is ugly.
It is, but we can't hide behind that.
No, we're not hiding behind anything. Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at the ratio of civilians to combatants in the conflict in Gaza. It's 1 to 1. That's low. In places like where the Syrian civil war, Iraq during the surge, it was more like 3 or 4 to 1, civilians to combatants. Nobody was calling that atrocity. But, people want to say that there's a genocide in Gaza. It's Hamas that's using human shields. It's not Israel that's using human shields.
Yeah, and like I said, then again, it goes on what journalists, what news platform are you following? I listen to a lot of Breaking Points. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. They keep it pretty balanced, I feel like. or Scott Horton. He's got antiwar.com. I don't know if you've ever been on that platform at all.
No.
But I don't know, man. This is how I look at it. I think the truth is in the middle. Are there terrorists in the Hamas organization? For sure. There is.
Yeah.
We know that. But is Israel as innocent as we think? No.
No, nobody ever said
Yeah,
that. No,
no,
nobody
not
ever.
at all.
Nobody. I'm not saying it, and Douglas Murray's not saying it either. I mean, look, one of my barometers for, what is legit in the world is, and his name is gonna run away from me. Damn the luck.
What is it? We could have him look him up real quick.
You know what? I'll just
Google it real quick.
I've got my phone right here.
No, you're good. Google it.
So
yeah,
for
I
the
think,
love of God.
and I think that's what I was trying to explain to
Alan Dershowitz.
Okay.
Alan Dershowitz. He's like the most liberal, civil libertarian lawyer on the planet. And, I would put it to anybody, read his book, The Case for Israel. He says, 100%, Israel is not, by any stretch of the imagination, an angel.
Yeah.
But
no government is. Yeah.
no, but their right to exist has been attacked by surrounding Arab nations
Right.
for 70 years since the founding of the state. I mean, from literally the day that they became a state in 1947 was the first attack. 6 Days War in 1967, Yom Kippur War in 1973. And then the intifada's that started. I believe the first one was in 1982, and then again in 1987, and then again. I mean, it's been nonstop.
Yeah.
Well,
the problem
Israel has not provoked a war.
Yeah.
It's been the surrounding Arab nations that want to essentially eradicate Jews from the face of the earth.
Yeah. And like I said, that's definitely debatable, depending on who you're looking at.
What's debatable?
Israel being as innocent, not wanting to provoke war.
No.
Yeah.
Provoke war? No.
Yeah.
Some of their reactions have been overly harsh.
Yeah, land grabbing as well. The West Bank on Gaza, that's been a big issue. I think there's plenty of articles out there that have discussed how the international law, they've had issues with that, of trying to land grab. Pushing more and more into Palestine.
Pushing more and more into Palestine.
Yeah.
I mean, Palestine...
Yeah, expanding. You see Israel, how it first started, and then it expanded.
Yeah, and that was, how many...
breaking treaties. I can't remember what that treaty was called.
But see, that's the land that they took over in the West Bank, and the fact that they took over, they occupied Gaza from 1967. That's why they occupied Gaza, was the 6 Day War. The 6 Day War... Egyptian attack was imminent. Gaza used to be a part of Egypt. The whole reason that they ended up occupying Gaza was to push Egypt out of Israel. So I mean, where's the reason in, Egypt attacks Israel and Israel pushes them out of Egypt, or out of Israel. Israel pushes Egypt out and then takes more ground as a buffer. That happens in war all the time.
Yeah, it said the expansion of settlements in the occupied West Bank is considered by the UN and the International Court of Justice to violate the Fourth Geneva Convention. and use of banned weapons, targeting civilian structures. Like I said, this is all debatable, man. I'm not acting as if I'm right or not, or if you're not right. But I mean, there's been some things that have been, that Israel's been accused of that.
It's really, just what this comes down to is moral relativism, man.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Moral relativism?
Moral relativism is not a, look, it's one thing to say,
so is it like looking at things as immorally right or not? Is that what you're saying?
Depending on your position.
Right.
Okay, there are moral absolutes.
Yeah, because if you're being bombed or attacked, you're going to fight back. So there's really the moral side of them. It's like, hey, what are you going to do? Like, we're going to fight back. We're going to defend ourselves, morally or not.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
I'm talking about Israel's side of things.
That's my whole point. Is there wasn't any until the 7th of October. There wasn't any. Israel was not attacking anybody. Israel was just sitting in Israel, defending itself with Iron Dome and with David's sling.
For sure, but I think the messiness of war is that what has throughout history led up to these terrorist groups being created. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, we stopped, but, they attacked us still. Well, it's like, yeah, but we got to go throughout history of why these people even developed and what they are. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The outcome. It's like World War II, right? With we were just discussing World War II with Hitler. You look at World War I, right? Germany took pretty much the whole beating of World War I, pretty much outcasted by the world. And then who springs up? Old Hitler that says he's going to bring back his nation and they're going to be number one and yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And so that was the outcome of what they did to Germany, of shunning them and, pretty much, I mean, it was some of the documentaries you can watch, life there was horrible, man.
I mean, is that is
not saying it's right.
I'm asking, is that an argument of, not justifying it, but, the Treaty of Versailles being rough on Germany as the reason for
I'm just saying for any
rise of the Nazis.
Yeah, for any action there's going to be a reaction.
Sure. I mean, and that's that's valid. But it doesn't give any credence to,
You don't think there's a way for Israel and Palestine to stop fighting with each other? You don't think they could come to some sort of agreement? Because there's talks, depending on, like I said, who you listen to, there's.
Okay, so
they said there's a way to settle
Hamas surrenders immediately and returns all of the people they kidnapped. The war ends.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. Any Israeli would tell you that. Hamas surrenders, like everybody that's left in the Hamas organization. But you have to understand that. A lot of civilians in Gaza are brainwashed. I mean, on the 7th, civilians crossed over into Israel. They killed people. They looted people's homes.
How do you think that happened with how locked down Israel is?
There had to be some kind of a failure somewhere. But a lot of the speculation is that there was... It's more an idea of how Hamas got the idea of, the 7th was a good time to strike because for months, like almost 18 months, there had been a lot of political infighting between multiple parties.
Over Israel?
Yeah, over judicial reform. They've been stacking the courts over there for years, and then now the Likud party wanted to come in and do this judicial reform, and a lot of the more liberal people, were very upset about that, and they were all just butting heads like this. There's actually a friend of Douglas Murray's, and this was in the book that I'm reading. He was one of his Israeli friends was joking. He was like, if Hamas just would have waited another 6 months, we would have killed ourselves. you know, because they were just, you know, going at it with each other.
Yeah.
So, you know, that probably had something to do with it. Their focus, there was a lot of protests, so it pulls a lot of security to, you know, oversee the protests and make sure those aren't getting out of hand. That pulls people away from, you know, securing the
Because
borders
doesn't
of the
Israel
country.
have like an entire wall around it?
Yeah, most of it. Most of it.
Yeah.
I
don't
mean-
know, man. It all sucks in the end, man. All of it. You
No,
know?
it does.
And it's not.
And it's not like I don't feel bad for people in Gaza.
Yeah.
I do. I 100% feel bad for
Yeah.
them because, I mean, look, in 2005 when Israel pulled out, you know, they pulled out, you know, their security forces out of Gaza, and they pulled out all of their citizens, many of which, you know, didn't want to leave because they had been born there.
Yeah.
But they got everybody out, and they gave it over to the Palestinian Authority, and, you know, they had elections, and Israel was like,
Yeah. They voted in Hamas.
don't have elections. They're going to vote in Hamas. And they wouldn't listen. And they went ahead and they had the elections. And, you know, the Palestinian Authority was like, no, you know, 70% chance, you know, we're going to win.
I wish I would have wrote down. They have like a stat, which, you know, is going to be hard to obtain. So, you know, anytime you deal with stats, it's always like,
Sure.
how true is this? But,
Sure.
I mean, the amount of civilians killed in Palestine is crazy. Crazy. I wish I had the number.
The
Might
number
be able to Google it.
the number that I believe it's the number that it's the number that Hamas has given, which is probably unreliable, was 40,000, and they don't distinguish between combatants and non-combatants. Israel has stated that they have killed at least 20,000 combatants since the 7th. So that's where you come up with that 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, because the stuff I see on like X of them like just complete buildings being missiles hitting them and blowing up. I mean,
Well,
how many innocent people were in there? You know.
Well,
what I mean?
you do realize that they make phone calls, they drop leaflets, they
For sure.
drop knock devices that blow up. It's like a concussion device, and it sends a concussion.
It's like a
down
warning?
It's a warning. You know, they do all of this stuff, you know, well in advance, giving up the element of surprise, and in a lot of cases, I mean, it's Hamas holds these people in place. You know, why do you think that they put, you know, all of their munitions and such inside mosques, inside schools, hospitals? You know, they do all of that stuff deliberately to make it so that, you know, Israel cannot prosecute a war against them.
Right.
You know, 300 miles worth of tunnels. And the thing is that's scary is that we, the United States, countries across Europe, we actually funded all of this.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a lot. Yeah, the
frightening.
Iraq War, Al Qaeda, you know, organizations like that. Yeah, we propped them up to fight Russians and funded them and trained them. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's the thing about, you know, the whole military industrial complex and, you know, dealing with trying to be in everybody's business around the world, which I'm not a fan of. I'm more of a fan of just focusing on America. You know, because I believe if you can't get your house in order, why are we out there messing with other people's houses? You know,
That makes sense. But every time we pull back, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. You know, I would rather we didn't get involved in anybody else's wars.
Yeah.
I would rather we didn't pay money to Israel so they can fight.
Yeah.
I would rather, you know what? Let's sell you some munitions. Sell
Instead
you
of giving them a lump sum up front every year. Yeah.
exactly. You know, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But when we pull back from the world becomes a more dangerous place, and inevitably that ends up affecting us.
Isn't that just what they tell us, though?
It's not. It really isn't. I mean, we can see evidence of that.
World War II is what you're going to say?
No, not even World War II. I mean, when Barack Obama was president and we started kind of pulling back from the world, you know.
Did we, though? I thought he dropped like the most bombs on.
Well, he dropped the most bombs on like Yemen and shit like that.
Yeah.
But he was going around on the apology tour, you know, telling everybody, you know, that, you know, we want to have more of a hands-off approach.
But what do you think would happen if we stopped? Like, what are they going to do? Show up to the shores of America and try to take over?
No, there's going to be vacuums that are going to be filled by other nations that aren't friendly to us or any other nation in the West. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what it is that people think that, if we just leave everybody else alone, they're going to leave us alone.
Right.
Move this up. Oh, sorry.
Tab it. Yeah, not your good.
Not all of us, I mean, we're not, people who engage in terrorism in the Middle East, they don't, Jesus, the rallying cry for Hamas is, we love death more than you love life. Mm-hmm. How do you leave somebody like that alone and think that they're not going to, try to develop a nuclear weapon? Or, I mean, hell, these are all proxies of Iran. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at them. I mean, do you think that they really just want nuclear energy?
Yeah.
For a reactor? What do they need that for? They've got tons of oil.
Yeah, but you could say all governments do corrupt, fucked up things. Like the CIA's killed people. I'm sure the Russian, Chinese, 100%. Like they've all killed people. Yeah. So what makes the Middle East any different if they were to get big? I mean, you think they're just going to go and drop a nuke on somebody? I mean, we got North Korea, and they're supposed to be the scary, they ain't dropped a nuke on nobody. And we let them do whatever they want.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Iran set off a small nuclear device in Israel if they got a hold of one.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't, look, as far as I'm concerned, you don't go around saying death to Israel and death to America, big Satan, little Satan. You don't go around saying that unless you mean it.
Yeah, but why do you think they say that? Do you think it's just religious based, or do you think there's more behind it?
I mean, they practice a 7th century version of religion that is, it's not friendly to the West. Mm-hmm. It is not friendly to Christianity. It is not friendly to Judaism. I mean,
but aren't all the Bibles like that? Like the Old Testament's kind of had some fucked up stuff in it. The Jewish Bible I've heard had some messed up stuff in it.
The Jews never ran around conquering people. I mean, that's what they did in the 7th century, and in Islam is they went around trying to conquer. I mean, that's the Crusades, man.
That's kind of the discussion right now, though. Instead of conquering, though, a lot of people are saying that they're infiltrating, though. Like they have ties in a lot of different governments, pretty predominantly our own.
Oh, I mean, Qatar.
That's why we fund them a lot of money, because everyone always asks, why are we funding Israel so much? What do they do for us?
Qatar is just an Iranian cutout, and they've been funding. They are like since 9/11, they have been the number one funder of colleges, universities in America.
Oh, Qatar has?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah, man.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, and they're, shit, you've got China buying up farmland.
Yeah, America's just for sale then.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. It's pretty fucking scary.
Yeah. And even on that, I just thought of this right now, and this isn't my idea. It's Dave Smith spoke about this. I'm sure you heard it when you listened to that debate. And it really, I've heard him talk about this before when it comes to the bombings. And I understand Hamas is using these people as human shields. I'm not going to at all sit here and act like that doesn't happen. I'm sure it does. But if we know that they're doing that and they're in an apartment building and we give warnings, we know there's innocent people in there, there's children, because we've seen videos, there's plenty of them out there, and we still bomb it. Would we do the same in America if it was at a school and we knew there was a terrorist organization that took over a school and there was a bunch of American kids or American families in that school? Would we just go, well, fuck it, bomb it? We wouldn't do that, right? I mean, we have military groups and certain organizations like special forces that could go in there.
The thing is that America is not going to go and murder 1,200 citizens of another country and kidnap a bunch of them. Mm-hmm. So there would be no reason for them to attack us.
Right. I'm just saying. I'm just putting.
That's just. My whole point is the onus is 100% on Hamas. Mm-hmm. It's 100% on them.
Right.
And that's what they're what they're doing with using human shields and placing all of their ordnance in public places, in civilian places.
Right.
That's a violation of the Geneva Convention. You know, I mean, honestly.
Yeah, but which we said Israel has violated as well.
Yeah, they've made mistakes. I mean, hell, there was that. There was a. It's what the World Kitchen. There was a caravan. They actually dropped ordnance on a caravan. I'm pretty sure, though, the commanders that actually made that call, I'm pretty sure that those guys.
They're in prison.
I'm pretty sure that they got stripped of their ranks and kicked out of the military.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're in prison or
Netanyahu,
not.
they say he's facing a lot of war crimes as well. They say that's one reason why he doesn't want to stop this. Yeah.
The International Criminal Court seems to think, you know what? The International Criminal Court and the UN are joke organizations.
Really? Huh.
They're absolutely joke organizations, man. I don't take them seriously whatsoever. They're global organizations.
Yeah.
You know? What? I mean, the UN was basically founded to, cobble together the European countries, with America as kind of, helping them rebuild and, being kind of basically a security force. I mean, hell, we pay so much more for defense.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of them. I'm just asking you how you feel about them.
No, we pay so much more to defense. I mean, the whole reason that they're able to afford, like healthcare, their universal healthcare packages in all these European countries, is because we pay to protect them. And I don't see why.
Yeah.
I don't see why we're doing that anymore. And every time there's a UN binding resolution, it's from somebody in some country like Turkey or some shit.
Yeah.
That I mean, Turkey doesn't really have a whole lot of human rights over there. They're, no better than, actually, they're worse than most other countries, than, most democratic nations. And I have a hard time taking the UN seriously at all. They turn up their nose at.
Yeah, it's just like the issue we have with NATO and them trying to gather more countries, causing, wars and stuff like that between other countries.
Right.
Ukraine's a perfect example. I was whispering in the ear of Ukraine, and then now we're having this conflict with Russia. Well, not us, but Ukraine and Russia. You can't have these gangs. You can't have NATO, and then what's Russia and China's BRICS or whatever it's called.
Oh,
you
no,
can't,
yeah.
You can't
BRICS,
have these organizations and not expect conflict. I know they have good intentions by bringing nations to be allied together.
I don't think BRICS has good intentions.
Right.
I mean, because that's,
but they're kind of the same. Our propaganda is telling us that the UN's good. Their propaganda for their nations is telling they're good.
I don't think any global organization is good.
I agree.
I don't think any global organization is worth a shit. I mean, let sovereign nations be sovereign nations, and, everybody leave everybody else alone.
Yeah. It's hard to do. It's hard to explain that to me. It's hard to get people on that same page.
Well, I mean,
and it's just like, with this whole Israel thing, as well. I'm not sitting here saying at all. Whenever I discuss any issues in Palestine, I'm simply discussing what war brings, and what war brings is very ugly and nasty, and it's just not moral in my eyes, which I get, the whole old school philosophy of, war is ugly and war is needed and these things are needed during war. And it's like, yeah, but is it? I don't think so. I don't at all. And I think, you should protect yourself. But anytime you go throughout history and you start looking at things that have happened, like you said, with us funding Al Qaeda and all these organizations at one point, Iran, Contra, all that stuff. Like, there has been things that led up to where these people are at now, The same between the Israel and Palestine conflict. I mean, even going back to, the 50s when, Britain promised Palestine, Israel, and I can't remember what other countries that piece of land.
Pakistan and India.
Yeah, that piece of land. What was it, 1957 or something?
No, it was 1947.
1947. Like if you fight,
1947 is when they did the partition plan.
Okay, and they promised all these people, all these countries that land, for just in the end to give it to Israel. So you could see how that could cause a huge controversy, right?
Pakistan and India became, sovereign states out of that,
but Palestine keeps saying that it's their land.
It's not their land. Uh-huh. It's both archaeologically and biblically can be shown that it is Jewish land. At one time or another, for 3,600 years, Jews have been where Israel is. Have been in the area of Judea and Samaria.
Why weren't they there before that? Why were they there at that moment?
They were in small enclaves. Yeah, they've been there in small enclaves for a long. They've also been run off multiple times.
Yeah, because I remember reading something, and granted, I don't know if it's true or not, but that Palestine and Israel, or the Palestinians and Jewish people got along at one point. And it wasn't before until, kind of this Zionist government of Israel came into play, and then
it's Zionism that actually create. Man, you really should read. It's a short book too. Mm-hmm. It's I think it's 68 pages. It's the history of the Jewish state, or it's the Jewish state by Theodore Herzl. Mm-hmm. He was the original Zionist.
Oh, okay.
People get this idea that Zionism is it's some kind of nefarious group of henchmen, and it's not. If you're a Zionist, you believe that Israel should have self-determination, and the Jewish people should have self-determination in. Sorry, whoops.
No, you're good, bud.
In the area where Israel is. That's literally it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really mean anything else. It doesn't have anything to do with ethnic cleansing and trying to kick anybody out of anywhere. I mean, you realize that 20% of Israel are Arabs. Mm-hmm. They actually, and there are Arabs who are in high positions in the military. There are Arabs that are in the Knesset, their parliament. There is actually a Supreme Court judge that is Arab, and there's been one other one. So, and as far as Palestine not being formed, they were given land, and before in 1947 when surrounding Arab states launched their first attack against Israel, they told a lot of the Arab residents there, they were like, leave, get out of the way. We're going to come in here and we're going to prosecute this war against Israel. We're going to wipe them off the map. And then when we're done and we've killed them all, you can come back in. Mm-hmm. And well, that didn't happen because the surrounding Arab nations got their asses kicked in 1947. By some miracle, because this was, what was it? Egypt, Jordan, Syria, all of them. So, look, like I said, I want that conflict to come to an end.
Yeah.
I think everybody does.
Yeah, I think everybody does.
What I don't want to see is, I don't want to see Hamas being left intact, because we're just going to end up back at the same place again. They're just going to attack people again. Yeah. They're just going to attack Israel again. They're going to reform. We're going to continue funneling money from all over the world. And that's another thing. The UNRWA is an organization that has worked very closely with Hamas. Mm-hmm. And, that's an organization that we've given a lot of money to through the UN, through USAID. we can't keep repeating this cycle. We're just going to keep doing it over and over again. Hamas needs to be cleared out. Period. End of story.
The problem is, how do you clear out Hamas?
At some point, they're probably going to have to go in and finish them off.
I know, but my thing is identifying who is Hamas.
Well, that's another part of the
tricky
problem.
part.
That's another part of the problem. And also, there has to be re-education.
And then, I always think of this too, because I try to put myself in the shoes of the people of Hamas, but also the people of Israel as well. I'm not one of these people that think all Jews are bad at all. I'm not on this train of whatever. Every Jew is this type of person, or every Palestinian is this type of person. I try to look at it and trying to be in the shoes of both sides. Sure. And what I see is so if I was to be standing out in the street, let's say I'm coming home, I'm bringing groceries or whatever it is, and I just watched my fucking apartment building get demolished, right, and my wife and my kids are in there. I mean, what's that going to make you want to go do? Whether or not you were probably a good guy, you were just stuck in the middle, you're born there, there's nothing you can do.
Sure. You're
in the middle of all this bullshit between these two higher ups going at war with each other. I'm going to want to kill anybody on that other side. You know what I mean? You can talk about being rational and
I can understand that, but you've got a choice.
Yeah.
I
mean, how would you feel? That's what I'm saying.
How would I feel? I would be fucking devastated.
I know. But you'd probably want to pick up a gun and start shooting people. Just like I'm sure Israel feels the same way when they get bombed.
A lot of the argument is that they already feel that way. And I don't know if that's the case or not.
Yeah, because that'd be the same saying Jews are this way.
Look, there was a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. There were people in Gaza,
right,
that were protesting Hamas.
They got killed or no?
I don't know. I don't know. They probably did get fucking killed.
Maybe.
That was probably got killed by Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
But that does happen on occasion. It happens in the West Bank too.
Yeah.
People will actually protest Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no doubt there are people there that, don't necessarily want this.
Yeah. No, I don't. Well, that's what I'm saying. They're stuck between two powers trying to fight each other over whatever conflict, whatever person you follow that they believe that this is the reason why they're fighting. That's why they're fighting, and ultimately the civilians, as always, they pay the price. They're stuck in the middle of it. That's the shitty part.
It is the shitty part.
But it's like telling two gangs to stop fighting each other. Like think about going and telling the Bloods and the Crips to stop fighting each other. They're probably not, because they're going to be upset because so and so killed so and so's brother. How do you get over it? He's going to want to seek vengeance. It's just a never-ending battle.
No, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. But if they don't do anything,
right, it's going to continue. Yeah.
If they don't do anything, there's going to be more attacks. Mm-hmm. They'll continue to take hostages.
Yeah.
They're taking, Hamas took hostages so they can get terrorists out of Israeli prisons, and they've done an effective job at it because Israel has a very staunch policy, is that, they don't leave people behind, civilian or military.
Yeah. I was listening to the other day, you ever heard of the USS Liberty?
Is that a program?
No, it was a naval ship.
Oh, shit. Oh, you were talking about the USS. Okay.
Yeah, USS Liberty that got bombed by Israel, and then they tried to cover it up. It was like back in the 50s or 60s. I can't remember what year it was. But it just sparked my mind because we were discussing how, what you said, you can go throughout history and see, the United States propping up some of these terrorist groups, funding them, not intentionally thinking that they're going to become a terrorist group at some point, but they're funding these groups and training them in order to fight who they don't like. And then ultimately 40 years later, they fucking go and take over a nation and then whatever. But I had seen that USS Liberty, which I didn't know much about, and I was just kind of watching this documentary on it. And how they were saying how this ship had a huge American flag, and it was known that they were a United States ship, and even they had recordings of Israel fighter pilots saying, "Hey, this is a United States ship. Are you sure you want us to fire?" Sure. And then they still end up doing it. And there's what is it called? There's speculation that they were doing it to get us involved over in the war in the Middle East, to be able to help Israel fight, to be able
I don't
to
know.
aid
I've heard of the USS Liberty, but I haven't really read about that.
Right,
honestly,
right.
so I really don't know.
But I see stuff like this, and then I just wonder if these chess pieces are put in place in order to, I think it's always ultimately from money and power. I think everybody kind of knows that, you know what I mean? I understand Israel wants to protect itself and its land and all that, but also it's governments. I mean, they want to be, however they can either obtain more land or get more money or get more power.
Sure.
They're going to want to do that. And I think these chess pieces are moved around and kind of hidden behind the term conspiracy. But I think they're put in place in order to achieve their objective, So I think there's things that lead up to certain situations.
You know, I mean, sure, there's things that, I just don't think that there's this giant plan or cabal. I think most governments are dogs chasing cars, and yeah, they they're after power.
Yeah.
But they're jumping from one foot to the next, and this country is reacting against what this country has done, and this country is reacting against what this country has done.
But I don't necessarily think it's the government, like the people that we see on TV. I think it's more of what the well-known term is the deep state. But I'm thinking more of alphabet agencies is what stirs a lot of the pot. Your CIAs and your FBIs and your Mossads and all that. That's what I think of who's stirring the pot.
Intelligence agencies do.
Yeah. I was just listening to a CIA informant on. I can't remember what show that was on, but I was just listening to him discuss. Even the word conspiracy theorist was invented during Operation Mockingbird, and it's so funny that people, and I understand I'm not all conspiracy theorist or true type individual.
There's a difference between conspiracy theories and conspiracies.
Yeah.
Conspiracies do exist.
Right.
Right. we have a whole set of laws that deal with conspiracies, So, the theories seem to lack evidence. That's why they're theories.
Right. But sometimes I like to think they're 6 months before the news gets a hold of them. For COVID, for instance, whole issue with that and how much they try to downplay or try to hype that up and make it more than what it was.
The experts got a lot wrong there. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, I don't think so either. But I also think people should come out and discuss what they got wrong and own up to it.
No, I'm not going to do that, though.
I know. That's what sucks. That's what kind of I don't respect them.
Sure.
How can I still respect you if you don't even have the respect to come on whatever show you're on and just admit, hey, we fucked up. We listened to so-and-so and we thought what they were telling us was right. And, I think any decent individual, a decent human being would say that,
Sure.
Even if I got something wrong, if somebody hit me up in the comments or messenger and said, hey man, this was wrong, I'd say it on the next show. I'm not trying to be anything. I don't need to. I'm not trying to climb this ladder that everybody else is.
I'm not an expert. I'm just a fucking guy. I don't know anything.
And that's the thing is that
I just read a lot of books.
But that's what concerns me sometimes when we want to this whole push, like the Douglas Murray thing. You should listen to experts that are more knowledgeable in this field. I understand what he's saying. But you're telling us to listen to a lot of these people who are getting a lot of stuff wrong. I'm not saying all, but and then for you to be upset because Dave Smith maybe hasn't even been there or doesn't have necessarily a degree in that background, but he's following who he thinks are reputable people and people that are giving him good information.
Sure.
And then, let me ask you a question. Did they debate at all in that episode? Not really, right? I mean, I didn't see Dave Smith giving his point, and I didn't see Douglas Murray giving his point, and them being able to debate that topic or whatever.
No, not really. I mean, I don't think they really even established a basis. I'll admit that whole interaction was kind of a shit show.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to see more of, because I don't blindly follow people. That's not who I am. Even Dave Smith, who I love. I mean, he's like my Ron Paul, I don't just blindly follow him. I don't think Dave Smith is 100% correct on everything, but I would like to see you prove him wrong. I want someone to. So that way it can either validate me more that he's correct and I have an example like, hey, watch this, you know, or go, damn, that dude was making sense and Dave didn't have anything to come back at that. You know what I mean?
I mean, I haven't seen anything that Dave has shown me that's verifiable.
Really? Have you watched his show?
I've watched his show.
Yeah, Part of the Problem.
Yeah, I've watched his show, and I mean,
you don't like it?
I just don't really. I mean, I don't love him. No, I don't.
You think he's a self-hating Jew? Like everybody else does? That's what they call him.
No,
self-hating Jew.
I don't know, man. I just
him and Spike Cohen are one of my guys.
I like Spike Cohen.
Yeah, Spike Cohen's cool.
You know, I like Spike Cohen. You know,
yeah.
He's he said one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. Make government as small as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Small enough to drown in a bathtub, and then take the next logical step. So.
And throw it out.
No, make it small enough to drown in a bathtub, and then drown it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I go back and forth on that because I've had my days of, wanting no government at all. You know, I've been through my anarchist type movement.
I don't think no government is the solution.
I don't think there's really a good solution for any of it. I think all of it's going to have bad. You know what I mean? Even if we eradicated government and people live freely the way they want, there's still going to be bad out of that.
I think we need to desperately decentralize.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. I'm for small government, man. I'm libertarian.
The federal government needs to be way, way smaller.
Yeah.
We're never going to get there the way we're going.
Yeah, a lot of the issues that we have is because of the federal government. But then people get worried. They're like, well, if the states get all the power, and then... But why? Why would you want someone to control the entire...
If you don't like what's happening in Kansas, then you can go move to Missouri, or you can move to Colorado, or you can move to California. Why anybody would want to move there, though, I don't know.
And I totally get that it's like, well, not everybody has the funds to move and blah, blah.
Sure.
But I always tell them this. Imagine you can't move anywhere because it's controlled by one organization. The federal government.
Exactly.
And you don't think, like, you just,
it's why I don't like global organizations.
Yeah, it's like, my thought is, it's like, why would you want that? Like, why would you want that at all? Oh. You know, but I mean, but then again, though, this goes back to what we were saying about the whole Israel-Palestine conflict, about history leading it up to where it's at right now. So is our own United States.
Sure.
We are here right now, not because of just some miracle. They have been indoctrinating us and messing with us throughout history, man, to get us to the point we're at, to where it's so hard to get people off the government's titty. It's insane, man.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's insane.
Yeah,
and honestly, it sucks because, even guys like me, like, this last election, I stayed out of politics for a while, man. I was one of those... fuck the government, blah, 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 for a long time. Sure. Then I went into libertarianism, and then I was just like one of those libertarians, just like dying on the libertarian hill. And then I ended up being persuaded this last election, being half of the libertarians that kind of merged over with the Republicans.
Sure.
And then it's like, because it's like
everybody joined you to that wide tent.
Yeah, it's like a last hoorah. It's like, all right, well, let's see. Donald Trump's speaking some, showing up at the Libertarian Convention. He's speaking, pretty much libertarian ideology. And let's see if he actually does it, which he did some. I mean, it's only 100-something days. I don't, now I don't really have much faith.
He was doing that then, but right now, I mean, what's he doing with, he's basically talking about setting price controls on prescription drugs. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, I've never liked that and tariffs. I don't like the whole tariff thing.
I think if
they're saying, I just read though that China's supposedly backing down.
Well, they supposedly come down to a deal that's
going down to like 30% or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically going to end up at 30%.
But that's what I was saying. I was telling people before, because they're like, well, you're libertarian. I thought you're for free market. I am for free market, but in order to have free market, everybody's got to be on that same playing field. We can't be paying all the, you know what I mean? Like paying for it all, and then we're getting fucked.
It's just like we're paying for everybody else's security. We can't be, we can't be engaging in free and fair trade, and everybody else is tariffing the crap out of us.
Oh, I completely agree. Just like you said, I don't want us funding other countries, no matter who it is, man.
I mean, I'd like to see us get to zero tariffs. Mm-hmm. Everybody, nobody tariffs anybody anything.
Oh, yeah, but we're talking being logical here.
unless we're talking about somebody like China, which I mean it makes sense to have some kind of tariff on China, because they're bad actors, man.
Yeah.
They are not, I mean.
You think sometimes, though, we make them out to be the devil, and really that's just our propaganda telling us that?
I mean.
And I'm just asking, I don't know.
I mean, it's a fact that they've got 1 million Uyghurs, Muslim Uyghurs.
What is that?
It's they're an ethnic Muslims.
Oh, okay.
Million of them in concentration camps, basically
Shit.
concentration camps. They're work camps. So I mean, yeah,
but that's all around the world. I mean, they got slave trade in Lebanon, and there's a lot of countries. I mean, North Korea. No one ever talks about North Korea, and they got a whole concentration camp.
There's
pretty
40
much.
million slaves in the world.
Yeah, that's
currently
fucking wild. Didn't they say there's more slaves now than there was back? Is that because there's just more people?
It's because there's more people.
Yeah.
Because there's more people,
but then also you would think 2025 that would be zero. You know what I mean?
So. You would think so.
How the fuck did it get bigger?
I mean, we've almost gotten the poverty rate to zero. It's at 8% right now.
Yeah.
In 1900 it was 80%.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Holy
shit. Abject
shit.
poverty was 80% in 1900.
Huh. That was worldwide?
Yeah. Yeah, global.
Fuck.
Yeah. And globally now it's 8%.
Well, at least that's getting better.
Yeah, it is getting better. That's what free markets do. Mm-hmm. I mean, not all markets really aren't as free as we think. It's not like everything is laissez-faire. Markets are subject to a lot of regulations.
Yeah, yeah. So, over-regulating is an issue too right now as well. Yeah,
exactly. That's a
huge
problem.
I don't know why people are so pro. I mean, I understand some regulations are needed. I'm sure there's some out there. That help
regulations
benefit.
for fair play and good stewardship of resources. Beyond that, there's no need for regulations. What else are you going to regulate if if you have regulations in place for fair play and good stewardship? What else do you need them for?
What do you mean by good stewardship? What do you mean by
good
that?
Stewardship of resources? Like if you're going to go out and you're going to drill up some oil or coal or whatever, you do it in the best way possible. Or if you're going to go out and you're going to clear cut some forests, make sure you're replacing what you're taking,
But you're telling people to be moral, and usually when it comes down to money, morals go out the window.
Morality is tough.
I know. So how do we implement better morality? I think that's probably the key, isn't it?
You might not like my answer.
Ooh, I want to hear it though. Hey, dude, I'm not one of those dudes that gets my feelings
Theology,
hurt. I don't
man.
Yeah, okay.
There is, and you're talking to somebody who rejected God for 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, I've been up and down in my life for sure. Yeah.
So
in and out of it.
Look, I've read a lot about Marxism. Spent a lot of time reading about Marx, reading both Marx and his detractors and his supporters. One of the key tenets of Marxism is atheism. And there's some, like Paul Kengor, who think that it goes a step further, and it's actually Marxism is actually Luciferian, so it's not
not even atheism.
It's not even necessarily atheism, but it's demonic.
Yeah.
But tenets of Marxism do take the human and strip away their intrinsic value, their divine spark, and posit that human beings are just material, like this table, this chair.
Right.
They don't have the intrinsic value that human beings, or that we don't have the intrinsic value, makes us, human, the divine spark that makes us human. We don't have that. We're no different than, an inanimate object, essentially.
Right.
We're something to be used for a purpose and discarded. And that's what Marxism really pushes. That's one of the main tenets of it.
How do you feel when atheists always tell you that there's also bad people who are Christians as well? Like people who have,
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all sinners, man. We're all fallen
Right.
creatures. You know, some are more fallen than others.
Because some
admittedly.
people hide behind religion, you
Sure.
know what I mean? And
100% they
still
do.
do. I mean, look
Still
at all
do
the
awful
people in our
things.
government that claim Christianity, yet they blow people up and start wars and do corrupt shit, you know?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
But you still feel like the good still outweighs in a religious society, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the further that we've pushed towards secularism, you know, the more crime we've had, you know, the more war that we, you know, I mean, technically, actually, we've had actually less war in the latter half of the 20th century than we did in the first half of the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had more war and more death in the first half of the 20th century.
Yeah.
But, you know, we got to have some moral value, and secularism just isn't getting the job done.
No, because the older I get, I know what you mean. I'm starting to see it now more, you know? Like,
well, I mean, just look at, I mean, like when the guy who killed the guy that worked for the insurance company.
Oh, yeah.
Mangione.
Yeah.
After he did that,
United
many,
Care,
yeah, so many people applauded that shit. And it's just like, look, I'll be the first one to stand up and say that health insurance companies, you know, don't always necessarily have the people that they represent or the people that they're, you know, providing a product for in mind, you know, but they also do have a responsibility to their investors as well.
Right.
You know, that's how the world works. But to go up and shoot a man, an innocent man, I mean, I'm sorry if he, you know, created a set of circumstances that, you know, somebody's claim got denied, or, you know, he told people, you know, deny these claims, don't deny these claims, or whatever the case is. That's not a reason to kill people, man. That's not a reason to murder somebody in cold blood. But the scary part is all the people that applauded that shit. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And
it's not good. It's not. Because
No,
you don't want
it's-
people going out there shooting people just willy-nilly for what they think is morally right. I get that.
100%.
The only thing I see on that CEO, I understand he was doing his job.
He was.
Okay. But if you're doing a job for a quote-unquote corrupt organization, because we don't know if they are or not. We just heard that they've denied and done some fucked up stuff, you know, denying a lot of claims, making it harder for people.
Yeah, but they have a business to run. It's
right. But
nobody's waking up in the morning and saying, I'm going to go deny these claims because I'm a corrupt son of a bitch and I'm evil. It's not how it works.
But then we go back into that moral factor. Is it right to continue that business then if people are dying? You know what I mean?
People die.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, you have nations that are euthanizing people. You know, look
Because
at Belgium, look at Canada.
Wouldn't you say like a mobster would probably say that too? Hey, I'm just running my business. You know what I mean? I'm just doing this.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
they're breaking laws.
Yeah, but
Is United Healthcare breaking it? I mean, show me that they're breaking some laws, and okay, you know, then that would make sense to me. But
what if they're not breaking laws, but it's still not morally right? You know what I mean? That's kind of some muddy waters.
What's morally right? Is it, you know, what's morally wrong with just, you know, a company has to have standards,
Right?
And they have to have, say, okay, these are our standards. We're not going, you know, for whatever fiscal reason, we're not going to uphold these claims, or, you know, we are going to uphold these claims. You know, they make those decisions and then follow through with them, and they're not, you know, they're not doing anything on the sly or anything, and there's no, it's like they're, you know, nobody's taking a kickback.
Oh, for sure. People with money don't break laws.
You
They
know.
do everything by the book, but it's just fucked up what they do. You know what I mean? And take for instance like this whole situation between the CEO and the shooter. this may be like what we said, every action, there's a reaction. So the action could be the this triangle between insurance companies, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, right?
Sure.
We know of this little triangle. We know of this. People have been trying to break this apart for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it's cost a lot of people lives. It's hiked up prices for medical expenses, people trying to get the drugs they need.
And
blah.
make sure that you're adding government into there too.
For sure.
Actually, you got that triangle. Government's in the middle.
Yeah, they're in the middle of it for sure. So this could have been the reaction. I haven't kept up with it since it started, so I have no idea. I'll be the first one. I'm not going to act like I know, but that could have been the reaction to that action. To where somebody was finally like, "Fuck it, you know what? I'm just going to take it into my own hands." And maybe not. Maybe this guy was just a loon. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you take it into your own hands, that's not justified. Mm-hmm. It's not justified. It's not justified for you to take. It's like is the argument that you're making is that either himself or someone that he knows got denied and it was catastrophic for them in this way and that way. So
it's going to make someone do something crazy.
Maybe it's going to make somebody do something crazy, but it doesn't justify it.
Yeah.
There's a line there. Mm-hmm. You can understand that. Okay, maybe I understand that. That may be the cause. That may be the cause, but or maybe the cause, but it's not a valid reason. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not a valid reason that you rob me of my money. Mm-hmm. It's not a valid reason for me to come to you and, beat you up and take your shit.
So what would happen if government continues to tax the people over and over again as much as they do? Increase, like, let's say it's 35% now of our income goes towards government. That's just me throwing out a number. What if it ends up being 75% and we end up having to do something to be able to get our lives back? It's not justified. But at some point, you got the boot on the neck for so long.
That's a different story because you get into tyranny. My point is that the CEO was not being tyrannical. Mm-hmm. He was just following.
Right.
He was just following the rules that are established.
And I could understand because it's not an obligation. It was at one point during the Obama administration where you had to have insurance or you're going to be fined. So I understand you don't have to have that insurance. You can go to a clinic or something and receive care there. So I totally get that. But I think at some point, and I'm just speaking objectively here. I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong. I think at some point when things just start to go up and up and up, cost, mainly, and I think it's going to send people to react. And there's going to be some crazy people that do some crazy shit. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, there's going to be some crazy people who do some crazy shit.
And so what I would say is that, and this goes for everybody, be careful who you work for because you might pay some sort of consequence for your work.
I mean, that's the moral relativism that I'm talking about. That's a morally relativistic outlook. Mm-hmm. I think that's really dangerous.
Really?
Yes, it's a very dangerous outlook to have because it spreads. It's like a virus, man.
But why is that dangerous? Just to tell people be cautious of who you work for because there may be, some danger involved in it because people don't like what you're doing?
People should be able to live their lives and do things in a even if you're corrupt, nobody has a right to come up to you and shoot you. Mm-hmm. And, people applaud it. I'm sorry. I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't get why people have put such a low value on life.
I don't think we should be applauding anybody's death at all, unless it's warranted. You know what I mean? You kill a pedo. I don't care if you applaud that. I'll applaud that with you.
Putting them in the wood chipper that's pretty much where my whole nonviolence thing goes out the window.
Yeah.
When it comes to somebody like that, that's just
feet first.
I mean, and that's kind of hypocritical to say this one thing is, but this one thing isn't. But I mean,
technically they broke a law, so shouldn't be.
They broke a law, but that's they robbed a child's innocence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's. I've always said it's like a disease, man. Like once you do that to a child, they're stuck with that. And I'm not saying you're stuck with. Let me choose my words here. it's going to be a long road, and you need to seek a lot of help, and it's going to be a lot to be able to overcome that. But it's possible. But what you're doing to that child, ultimately, I've seen it. I've seen people not be able to, make the greatest life decisions because of things that affected them when they were younger. And it's sad, man, that another individual did that to them. But not to go into that whole, what I'm discussing is just like, actually, I just lost my fucking train of thought. God damn it. Got me all fucking pedos. Got me all hot and fucking pissed off. Fired up.
Hot and bothered.
Yeah, man. I fucking hate that. Dude, I can't stand that shit, man. I think I just seen fucking Sean Ryan. He had on, I can't remember what football player's name. They were discussing it and just some of the shit he was talking about, dude. Boils my fucking blood, man.
Yeah, it's just sick. It makes you fucking skin crawl, man.
Yeah, I don't know how people can do it. Here, come over to that side real quick. Sorry, because the mic's on that side. If you could just scoot over just a bit.
Sorry.
Yeah, but no, going back to the shooter and the CEO. Yeah, I don't think you should be going around shooting people at all, and I don't think you should be applauding it. But I think that what should be done,
I don't think anybody should have to expect it either.
Let's have a conversation. Well, I mean, you're never going to be fully, you're never going to be fully safe in life.
That's what I'm saying.
First line of defense is yourself. And if you're a fucking, I'm not saying he should, but bro, you're worth millions of fucking dollars. I would probably hire some security. And you're probably not liked,
No,
even in a libertarian world. I'm not naive to think that it's going to be some utopia. You're probably going to have to defend yourself more than you would in this world.
Yes,
because everything would be fucking cut in half. First line of defense is yourself. And that's one thing I don't like about people nowadays is that they expect someone else to protect them.
No, people want rights, but then they abdicate the responsibility
on somebody else.
To somebody else for having those rights. If you're going to have rights, then you have to take the responsibility of exercising them.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, shit. I mean, I'm not saying. What I'm saying is that instead of applauding, instead of being upset, instead of whatever it is, why don't we look at this situation? Why did this fucking happen? And really deep dive and tear apart what led up to this. You know what I mean? Maybe it'll just come out that dude was crazy. I don't know. Or maybe there's something in it that we can learn from and change, and that can avoid this from happening again.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's he's you read the manifesto that he left.
I did not. Yeah.
I mean, it was basically just Marx inspired twaddle.
Mm-hmm.
It was he's people are victims of these large companies, and people are being exploited by these large companies, and it's like, I mean, as if these people that are being exploited don't have choices.
They have choices. The problem is the grooming part of it. You know what I mean? Because, like, were they groomed this way to live this life that they're living? Probably. They probably looked at their parents. They're living this way. They use insurance. They go here. They do this. And they mimic it. You know what I mean? So it does take a lot of, like, you need to be able to self-reflect and find your own path.
Well, yeah.
But how many people really do that? A lot of people are bots, man.
I mean, hey, man, that's...
Yeah, I know that's their fault. I get it. That's their fault. That's their life. I get it.
You got to break free from that at some point.
Yeah, and I'm not one to sit here and hold people's hand and tell them, Sure. I mean, you have one life. You have the same access to information
Absolutely.
I do. I totally get that. But I'm just saying that is a real thing, though. There's a lot of people that just mimic how they grew up. And that's how they see life, and that's how they live life.
I will agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Most people are. Most people aren't even awake. They're not even looking. Yeah. They're not even looking in front of themselves.
But don't you feel like that is
6 inches?
Don't you feel like that is intentional though, or do you not dive down that rabbit hole too much?
Intentional from what perspective?
A dumber, more a dumber society that is more of in need of government and big organizations like the United Healthcare and all these, big fucking hospitals and shit.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that
keep us unhealthy. Look
look at the food pyramid. Look at all the processed food in the world.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They're grooming us in a sense, right? Because they're bringing you through school and they're teaching you all this shit. And
no, I mean,
it's all fucking a lot. Well, I don't know if they still teach it. I don't sit in these schools and see the curriculum that they're teaching. You know, I see some of it on some of the stuff I watch. I don't think that is every fucking school in America.
Sure.
But like, you know, when I walk into my daughter's school, I don't see a bunch of you know, pride stuff or religious stuff, or I don't see. It's pretty neutral at that, except for my daughter's high school. I will say that.
You don't see them indoctrinating people in politically charged things.
Yeah, but even at my daughter's high school, I seen one banner. It's not like the whole school's got rainbow flags on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's one banner. I get it. You know, whatever. Sure. You know, I think schools should be neutral, especially if they're taxpayer funded.
Schools should be neutral 100%.
Yeah, and that even comes down to religion. I've always said that too. Even though I think religion is a good thing, I think that if we're going to keep a tax-paying, if taxpayers are going to fund a school, it needs to be so everybody doesn't, you know, everyone's cool with it. And that would just be, hey, we're teaching these kids.
Sure. I mean,
a curriculum and that's it, you know.
I don't necessarily think that religion should be in schools. If you want religion to be in schools, send your kid to a religious school.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. I completely agree.
But if it's public, then, you know, no. Yeah. It shouldn't be.
No. Because there's a reason why rich people send their kids to private schools and not public schools, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. I mean, you would think it's because they're getting a better education.
Well, they probably are.
They probably are.
That's the dumbing down of society I'm talking about. Is that I feel like, and I know this is a huge conspiracy, but is it? I mean, I feel like it's being done on purpose. Why else would they want to dumb us down and make us fatter? I don't get it.
I think schools have always. I think our school system has always just programmed us to be worker bots, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do this,
setting you up for the working field. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
you know,
which I mean, people need to work. You know, I mean, you know, society needs to run. I get that. Yeah, but you know, let's also make sure they're smart too.
I think it would be a hell of a lot better if we taught kids philosophy, starting out
at a young age
in junior high. You know. First philosophy book I ever read was Aristotle for Everybody. And it just breaks down all of the laws of logic and, you know, does a little some logical fallacy stuff. And
what makes philosophy stick out to you? Like why is that something you gravitate to? Because you said you're religious, right?
I am now.
Okay.
I had kind of I've always relied on abstract reason and logic. And that's gotten me by. But after I had my heart attack, that changed me a little bit. And it was kind of starting before then too. I just kind of felt there was a little bit of an emptiness that wasn't getting filled by things like reason and just trying to, you know, think my way through things. And having just a little bit of faith kind of seemed like it was helping. And then I started reading a little bit. Started reading the Bible a little bit. And I've listened to a lot of Jordan Peterson.
Oh, okay.
Like him a lot. He does these series on religion. It's on the Bible. He does one on he does one on Exodus, and then he just recently did one on the Gospels from the New Testament.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of Jordan Peterson.
And then he did one on Genesis, and it's a seminar. These guys sit around a table and they read through each part, and then they all sit around and go around the table and discuss it. I don't know. I just started feeling comforted by the stories and how I could find little nuggets of truth within them.
Right.
That, you know, made me feel like maybe I'm not maybe I needed something more besides just being able to go it on my own. And, you know.
It's kind of the let go and let God, right?
A little bit, yeah. You know.
Take that weight off your shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. No, and that's what I was telling you earlier. The older I get, I see it more. I see why a lot of people, when they get older, they head towards religion, you know. Because I think as human beings, especially when we're younger, you know, we think we know everything. We think we know what's best. And that's a lot of weight you're carrying around. You know what I mean? To try to figure out everything, especially nowadays in the world. Like we're trying to figure out, like we've got, I mean, one thing, you know, it's great that we have more access to information. It's great that we're able to see what's going on and not be, you know, I mean, we're still being lied to, but we have more ways instead of 6 channels to be able to get information. But at the same time, that's a lot. That's a lot to consume. That's a lot to take on, you know? And when I've heard people, you know, because, you know, I'm the typical, I believe in a higher power, just haven't found a specific religion yet that I want to associate and be a part of.
Sure.
But I see how I had Wes Graves on, and he explained to me, and it's really stuck with me since. He said, if you don't worship something higher than you, you'll worship the next best thing, which is, you know, could be money, women, men, power, whatever it may be, you know, drugs, alcohol. And so I see how when people do find faith and do find religion and they're able to give themselves to that, it takes a lot off of you, man, and gives you direction.
No, it does.
You know, and the moral, like you said. And I'm not saying all religious people are morally right or, you know, good people. I understand there's bad. Like we said, human beings are flawed. But we can't say that there's not a lot of good ones. You know, there's a lot of good people. I would hope to think
there's a lot of good that comes from religion.
Yeah.
For me personally, I mean, like I said, when I had my heart attack, I was having symptoms for 36 hours before it even dawned on me that shit, maybe I need to go to the hospital. And I just walked right in, and you know, I mean, I had a tear in 2 of my arteries, and I was for sure full on having a heart attack. And what really did it for me was being on the table. They did angioplasty, so they go in through the artery. Sometimes they'll go into the groin, but that luckily, thankfully, they went in through my wrist. And you know, they're like, you know, we'll put you out, and you know, you won't see or feel anything, and you know, we'll get it figured out and what's going on, and you know, if it's really bad, then you know, we're gonna have to revive you, and then we're gonna have to transfer you somewhere else for open heart surgery, this and that. So I'm just like, great, you know, and they got me on the table, and you know, they count backwards from 100, you know, like they do, and the next thing I know, I'm awake, groggy but awake. And I feel this really sharp pain right here in my chest. And I'm like, fuck, what is that? And they're like, oh, yeah, sorry, man. That was a balloon. And they had put a balloon up there to
open it up.
2 of my arteries were clogged. Like 97%.
But hold on, you're awake during all this?
They had to bring me out because my blood pressure kept bottoming out and then skyrocketing. So
tell me they had everything covered, right? You didn't see all this shit, did you?
No, I looked up and I saw my heart on the screen. So
Holy shit.
I'm laying there, and you know, I'm like I said, I'm groggy. I'm kind of in out.
Oh man.
But I felt
I would
that
have passed the fuck out. Dude.
I felt that first balloon go, and it felt like somebody was stabbing me in the heart. Oh, and he was like, the doctor was like, yeah. He was like, sorry, but you know, we had to kind of bring you out of it a little bit, and we're gonna have to keep you kind of right there on the edge, because you seem to like the drugs quite a bit. And then I felt another sharp pain, and I was like, what the hell is that? And he was like, I just put the first stent in.
Oh.
And I was just like, can I raise my head? And he was like, do whatever you want. He was like, because I'm strapped down to a table. The only thing I can move is my head. And I just kind of looked like this. And there is my heart on a screen that's like this, digital screen. And I can see it there, and I'm just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I just blew my mind. I felt them do the second balloon. I felt them do the second stent.
How long ago was this?
This was June 6th last year.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And
what was that recovery process like?
Spent 4 days in the hospital after that. When they took the catheter out, though, my artery blew out. So they had to put 3 stents that they pump air into. And I mean, I had stents on my arm up to here. And my blood pressure was just going like this all over the fucking place.
Holy shit.
And they got me back up to my room. And my mom was up there, and the doctor's up there. Not the doctor, the guy that did the procedure. It's a different guy that does the procedure than the guy that was my attending. Uh-huh. So my attending's there, and he's just kind of standing there like this, and there's like 7 nurses rushing around, hooking me up to this, hooking me up to that, putting nitro on my chest. Here, open your mouth, take this, put it under your tongue, nitro pill. They're just trying to get me to calm down, and I keep feeling all this like pins and needles up in here and up in my neck. Felt like I was starting to have another heart attack. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like. My legs were restless, and I kept moving my legs, and I couldn't calm down, and mm-hmm. I couldn't settle in. Eventually, after about 20 minutes or so, I got to the point where I calmed down a little bit, and the doctor came in and explained to me, what had gone on. And he was like, I don't know if you're a praying man. He was like, but I can't find a reason why you were able to just walk in here. Mm-hmm. He was like, in a lot of cases with your particular type of issue that you were having, he was like, a lot of times, because one of the arteries was the widowmaker. He's like, most times when they're that clogged like that, it's lights out.
Fuck.
He was like, so you take that for whatever you want. He was like, but I hope you stop smoking. I hope you start eating properly.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you start taking better care of yourself. He was like, because if you don't, we'll see you again real soon. Mm-hmm. He was like, because those stents are not indestructible. He was like, and neither is any other part of your body, especially your heart.
Do they last forever if you take care of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had to replace them or at all at some point.
My friend's dad had the exact same thing happen to him right around the same age. I think he was 47 when it happened. I was 46. And he's 77 now, I think, 76. Mm-hmm. And,
That's good. At least you got someone to base it off of.
Yeah. Well, and they told me, they were like, look, if you do right by yourself and you do what you're supposed to do, mm-hmm. You should make a full recovery. And I'm just
That's good.
So I'll be able to go out and kayak again and hike and,
Oh, how long do you have to recover?
Oh, no,
Oh, you're good now?
Okay. I was good. I took it easy for about 3 weeks before I went back to work. I was in the hospital for 4 days, got out, another 3 weeks before I went back to work. Mm-hmm. Went back to work, my first job. Kind of took it easy, about 30 hours a week, then bumped it up, and then started my second job, I think about 5 weeks out.
You feel good now, though?
I feel great. I feel better than I ever have.
That's good, man.
And you know what? I left the hospital and went home. And the first thing I wanted to do was, I was just like, I want to get the ashtray, half pack of cigarettes out of my car, all the bullshit, just want to get it out of there. And I opened up the car door and I almost threw up because it stank so bad to me.
Yeah, like cigarettes.
Yeah, and I was just like, fuck. Mm-hmm. Really? And I was just like, well, that's pretty easy. I don't want any of that. Mm-hmm. And I haven't smoked cigarettes since the day I left for the hospital.
Really?
Haven't had one. I still have one cigarette in a pack with a lighter in it, and it's in the drawer of my desk at home. And it's the last cigarette I'm never going to smoke.
Just a reminder. Yeah, I smoked for a while, man. And thank God I stopped. Every now and then I'll have one cigarette every once in a blue moon. But, yeah, nothing like what I used to when I was younger. But, yeah, I don't know, man. cigarettes are just, that's a hard one. I've done a lot of drugs in my life, drinking. Cigarettes was the hard one, you know?
Yeah, drugs and quitting drinking wasn't hard.
Yeah, it's just cigarettes. They go great with a cold beer.
Can do.
And you're a musician. So it's almost like a requirement, man.
Full disclosure, I'm aspiring. I don't even really consider myself a musician more than I consider myself a...
Dude, I love your guys' music, man. I don't think you ain't got to have a blue check mark to be, like, for people to enjoy your stuff. Like, that song that I have for the intro, I mean, that's a fucking... You're the one playing the guitar in that, or is that just Mark?
No, that's just... Wait.
The Angels and Demons. Is that just Mark, or is that you too?
No, I actually wrote that one.
You wrote that one?
Yeah,
See, that's what I'm saying, dude. That's a beautiful song.
I wrote that one, and then Mark wrote the leads.
Because it's been a while since I interviewed him, so I can't remember.
And Mark is like you said, Mark's a really good musician. Yeah. He's a really good performer. He's got a great distinct voice.
Mm-hmm. Good energy, yeah.
Absolutely. And he takes what I can create a decent bass line song, and he'll take it and he'll just put it through the roof and just makes it a fantastic piece of art. Mm-hmm. I'm really lucky to have that, because I mean, I can play a little bit, I can sing a little bit. My singing voice is actually...
You posted some videos on Facebook the other day. We were discussing that, man. They were great. Good, man. You're putting yourself down too much, man. Every musician does this shit.
I have a huge confidence problem.
I know.
I have a huge confidence, and
a lot
especially
of people do.
if I'm gonna play, I'm probably gonna I'm gonna be very fucking nervous, because I've never played in front of you before.
Hey, we'll do a couple takes.
All right, that sounds good. No,
How'd you to go back? I know we got off topic, and I figured it would, but that's the beauty about podcasting, man. And also, I want to say right now, I did not realize you had a Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell shirt on.
I wore this for you.
I know. I was like, I thought it was just a Quentin Tarantino, my fucking movie, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I literally didn't even pay attention. I thought it was a Pulp Fiction. I looked down, looked up, and then I was looking at it earlier when you were talking. I was like, that Milton Friedman?
I wore this for you.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. No, I love this. I love the shirt. And you know what? I figured that you were, I was wondering at some
You're
point,
like, when is he going to catch on to this?
Are you going to fucking say something, man?
Yeah, I know.
Just because,
It took me an hour and a half, but...
I'll wear this shirt, and they'll just think it's like some dumb knockoff or mistake or something.
Yeah. Where did you get that, dude? I got to get that.
What is it? One of those T-shirt things from
like
social media.
Oh, like social media? Dude, I got to get that, bro. That's awesome. It's
not Teespring.
Yeah.
Something else. One of the T-shirts.
Do you know what let me down the other day though when I heard? I did not know this. Whose podcast was I listening to? But I think it was Lex Friedman. He had on this one lady that was discussing Austrian economics and Milton Friedman and this girl. I can't remember. That Carl Jung guy. Carl Jung. Yeah. Like all these people. That kind of, libertarians are big on. And I'm not a know everything about libertarianism. Like I'm still learning to this day.
Sure. Stop learning, you're dead.
Yeah. You ain't lying. And also too, I'm fucking not the brightest individual. So, I try to talk about what I know, then sure. I'm always the one that, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Somebody will tell me, or, at some point I'll take what you're saying, even about the conversation we had today. Yeah. I don't at all have anything against you, or I don't look at you any differently. 100%. I think we need more discussion. We need more dialogue instead of fighting.
If we don't have dialogue, we're finished as a society.
I know. And that's what I was upset about. And I understand that you like Douglas Murray, but that's what I was upset about, that whole situation. I wish they would have just been able to talk. And I wish more people would have been able to talk.
They would have been able to get past that,
Yeah.
The point that Douglas Murray was trying to make, they would have been able to just say, you know what, let's just actually have a conversation about the facts.
Yeah. I get that. And I think both sides tried to explain what they were trying to discuss. And ultimately, it just fell apart. I hope one day they can do it again. Who knows,
I think that would be nice if they can just, set everything aside that, Douglas is going to come at it from the direction he's going to come at it, and help me out here.
Oh, Dave Smith?
Dave Smith is going to come at it from the direction he's going to come at it, and just, lay it all out. And
at the end of the day, they both want the same thing, I'm sure, is to end the war. So, that's what we all want. We all want the war to be ended.
I think that's the one thing that everybody can agree on is that,
just how to go about it. How do we fucking do it?
How do we
well, actually, there? It's not even we. That's their issue over there. And I hate to be a fucked up individual. And I know people call me an individualist or whatever, but I'm sorry. I'm America first. I want to focus on our country. I want to get our house in order before we start dealing with other people's shit or even allowing people in, man. It's like deal with our shit first, clean our house, and then we can start discussing on, being this example of the world. Because right now, I'm not one of these people that hates on America or acts like we're not shit or we're this or that. Like, I think we are good overall, but there's a lot of bad that we need to address and we need to get fixed before we start going around acting like we're the idols of the world, to look up to. You know what I'm saying?
No, I can understand that position. Yeah. That's a valid position.
Yeah. But to go back on Milton Friedman, that Lex Friedman podcast, I did not know that they said when he died, they said that his last regret was, out of everything he did, was the where you can have your taxes taken out of your check.
Really?
Yeah, he implemented that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, or he created, I don't know how he not implemented, but he created that system, I guess, to where you don't have to, because it used to be you paid your taxes at the end of the year,
sure,
or at the beginning, whatever. You'd pay it, and you'd have to write it out.
Kind of like you do when you're self-employed now.
Yeah, but yeah, you're 1099. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you're a 1099. And I was thinking about it, and at first I'm like, well, why is that a big deal? And I go, oh shit, that is a big deal, because now when you write that check, you go, where the fuck is this going? Yeah. Where is this 10,000, 20,000? Some people are paying 100,000. Where is this fucking going? Before I give you this, where is it going?
Right.
But now, as we all know, when things are taken out little by little, it goes right above our head.
You don't miss it.
Yeah. Look at your Netflix. This is to everybody. Go look at your bank account and look at all the little fucking charges you get taken out monthly.
Oh yeah.
Prime, Netflix, Disney, fucking whatever the hell you have. Okay?
And I keep pretty close track of my subscriptions, and I don't have very many.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have very many for a reason.
Yeah, but that little
I'm a
amount,
minimalist for sure.
Yeah, that little amount comes out,
it does.
And then you forget about it for a while, and then you add another monthly payment and another monthly payment. You don't realize
that subscription, the gym.
Yeah, yeah. And then by then you don't realize it. And if you look at it overall, you may be getting $500 taken out of your monthly income a month,
You know what? I never realized how much fucking I spent on cigarettes and junk food.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Ridiculous amounts.
You ain't lying, man. Cigarettes are what, like $10 a
beer
pack now?
And hell, I was smoking Luckies, so they were only like $6 a pack.
Shit. I know, but I remember a long time ago.
But that's still ridiculous.
Fuck, man. You used to be able to get Marlboro Lights for like $5. Now they're like 11 or 12. I don't know how much they are now. I don't ever buy them. But
I mean, before I had my heart attack, I was trying to figure out some, I was, kind of sitting down with my finances, trying to figure out some ways to save some money. And then I had my heart attack. And I stopped doing all the things that were killing me, essentially. And then I realized how much more money I had every month. And I was just like, shit, I wish I would have figured this out 20 years ago.
Not only that, didn't it make you think better and feel better?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's another thing that
I feel fantastic when I get up out of bed every morning.
I know, that's one thing.
My knees are shot, so,
Yeah, but we look past what we put in our gut,
Right.
Like, we look completely past that.
100%.
Because you get so used to it. And I was at that point as well at one point for a long time, dude. And that you don't realize, you're like, damn, I'm bogged down. I'm running slow. I'm running like shit
100%.
Until you get healthy again. Then you're like, holy fuck, man. Where has this been?
Yeah.
No,
I know 100%.
And man, I wish more people would listen on that. Like, and I know why they don't, because I was this way whenever I was overweight, and I dealt with my issues of drinking and smoking and doing drugs and shit,
Sure.
and I didn't care. And I always looked at those people that were healthy, and I'm like, man, shut the fuck up, dude. You're so annoying. No one wants to hear about your healthy bullshit and you're working out. Like,
right.
You think you're better than us? Yeah, I was the same person,
Sure.
But now that I look back on it, I'm like, what an idiot. Like,
yeah.
Those
Why
people,
didn't you listen then?
Yeah, those people are literally going out of their way for free, telling you how great if you do this, this, and this. For free.
Sure.
They're not even being paid. They're not, I mean, yeah, I'm sure some are, influencers or whatever, but like just normal people. Every family has that one healthy person in their family. I would hope at least one. You know, listen to them.
I'm that one now.
Listen to them.
Fucking crazy.
And how great do you feel now? You know,
I feel really good.
That's what I'm saying.
I
And
feel really
it's
good.
it's only going to get better every year.
I'm about 80% whole foods at this point.
That's awesome, dude.
So,
and also too, it's like whatever you eat, it's like you feel good. You know, it's like what you eat, you are. You know, if you're 100%. Eating, and don't get me wrong, I love Taco Bell every now and then. You know,
right?
But
you know what? I stay away from fast food completely.
I feel the cost afterwards.
Yeah, no, I bet you do. I bet you do. I stay away from fast food completely.
Yeah, compared to chicken and veggies I just ate right now. You know?
Yeah. Well, I'll go out and I'll eat at a restaurant, but like a sit down restaurant.
Yeah.
But still, I don't do that very often. I don't do it. Well, you know, and I'm kind of a liar. I'm fibbing on myself because I did.
Everything's in moderation, though, man.
A couple of weeks ago, I went and had Chinese food.
Hey, man,
which is like the worst for you.
It is the worst, but it's so good.
God, it's so good.
It's so good, man. You're like, I'm about to stop at a. What
you know what I have not given up? You know what I've not given
Express?
up? I'm not giving up street tacos, and I will not.
I don't blame
We've
you,
got
man.
4 taco trucks in Shawnee.
Oh, do you?
4 that are like within a 3-mile radius of each other. It's ridiculous. And I mean, they're all good too. I've been to every one of them and they're all good.
At least they're not too bad. Just a lot of oil. It's always a lot of oil. That's the problem. You know?
Yeah, a lot of oil.
Much oil.
I can't find any of them that nobody has any chicharron.
Yeah, I'm not a big chicharron fan.
Oh, fuck.
I'm a texture person. I don't like the squishiness.
You don't like the squishiness? No.
It bothers me. Yeah, I don't. That's why I never like menudo. Never.
See, I don't like menudo.
Yeah, you don't.
No.
I don't mind the caldo, the soup part, but I don't like the squishy stomach inside of it, dude. Ugh, so gross. Have you ever seen? I'm sure you're a chef. You've seen where the stomach is out in the butcher.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just a stomach sitting there in a fucking plastic or styrofoam box. It's, oh, dude.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just
nasty.
can't do it, man. I can't do it. It looks all white and shit. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's not appetizing. It's anything that has to do with stomachs or intestines or anything like that. I'm just like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah. I think everything's good in moderation though, man. You know, 80-20, like we said earlier, 80-20 rule. You know, as long as 80% of it's good, you can afford to do 20.
Yeah.
You know, that's balance.
I'm not worrying about it too much because, I used to it was butter with every meal. It was bacon, I put bacon in everything. And,
well, bacon and butter
salt.
Are debatable, though. You know, like a lot of people demonize red meat,
the
bacon.
cholesterol, though, that's the problem.
Right, but there's different types of cholesterol. Actually, in that book right there, that Healthy Made Easy, that's written by Mitchell Thompson. I've had him on the podcast 3 times. Man, knowledgeable dude. You should go check him out. But and I won't be able to discuss the difference between LPL and whatever the fuck else the cholesterols we have. But he's good at breaking that shit down, man. And he actually suffers from Crohn's, which is what made him dive into this healthy lifestyle that he has, because he can only eat really meat, without having to be on all sorts of prescription pills and all that stuff. He actually has a documentary too. I'll send it to you. It's on YouTube. Sure. But he went to North Kansas City. He has recordings on that documentary of the doctors basically telling him there's no other solution. All you can do is be on these pills and try to maintain. And he didn't believe that. He's like, there's got to be another way. And that's what led him down that whole research and path and to writing that book and to how he is now. Like, he owns a gym. Yeah, he has flare-ups. There's things that he deals with that, it's not perfect. But, man, he's not stuck on all these drugs like all the other people that are having to deal with, the same. But just by diet. Yeah, just by diet, And it's amazing, man. And I'm not saying all drugs are bad at all.
No, absolutely not. there's
there's needed prescription drugs. I get that.
I need my blood pressure medication.
Yeah.
That stuff is for sure. I need. I actually stopped taking one of them.
Yeah, but there's probably ways to get you off of that. You know what I mean?
No, there are.
Getting you in the gym more, maybe, and like you said, you're already eating better, and then time plays a factor, Here in a year, if you continue at that, you may be able to kick the blood pressure medication.
I should. I'm supposed to be. I go back to the doctor first part of June, and I should be getting off of my platelet medication. That's my blood thinner. They're going to take me off of that, and then I'll just do a baby aspirin every day for the rest of my life.
Nice.
So that's nice. platelet medication, it kind of exhausts me sometimes.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I'll get waves of exhaustion in the middle of the day that I used to not get, But trying to go to the gym, I go to the gym at least 4 times a week.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That gives me, gets those endorphins flowing and gives me a lot of energy. So
clears your mind out, makes you less aggressive, 100%. Stuff like
that.
that.
And Mark got me on this yoga nidra stuff.
Oh, really?
It's like a prone position guided meditation. And I'll do that at least 3 times a week. It takes like 20 minutes.
I've been wanting to do yoga. Actually go to a class, man. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Right. No,
like just you look at it and you're just like, oh, they're just doing a bunch of poses. But I've tried some of those poses.
They're not easy.
They are not fucking easy.
No, they're not easy at all. They take a lot of strength.
Yeah, a lot of strength. And I could see how that overall your whole body could benefit from that, and even your mind, because we're so distracted.
Sure.
And
well, you have to focus to be able to balance like that.
Exactly.
So
it's kind of like what jiu-jitsu does for me and Mark. Like it's complete focus during that time. It's like you're not thinking about anything else other than either trying to submit this individual or not be submitted yourself.
Right.
So, yeah, it's amazing, man. But yeah, man. Where the fuck were we? We're talking about Milton Friedman. No. Before all the whole thing we discussed, music. Okay, we talked about your father. Your father was an over the road truck driver.
I keep fidgeting.
No,
you're
good.
Sitting in one place.
Hey, we got autofocus now. We're good. With the old cameras, I feel so bad for Mark. His shit came out so grainy because he did the same thing.
Right.
A lot of people do. I do too. But the autofocus I had on the last cameras sucked. So it would the image would blur a lot and come in and out of focus. I don't know if you were watching whenever you see it. It was just in and out of focus. That. Yeah, and I'm like, fuck. I knew at some point I was going to have to get something. But yeah, no. So to go back to that, like, when did you start getting into like music? You said that, like, what was the first instrument you started playing?
The first instrument I played was a viola. It was like in the 5th grade, I think.
That. Okay.
And then 6th grade, I played stand-up bass, and then I just kind of lost interest in it.
Okay.
But I mean, I was big in sports when I was a kid. Huge in sports, and I really wasn't very artistic. I didn't write, I played football. I played baseball. Baseball was my sport. That was my jam.
Baseball?
Yeah. I also played soccer.
Playing it's fun. I can't really watch it.
I like going to the stadium and watching it. I don't like watching it on TV.
Catch the highlights.
But then, and also during high school, I also rode bulls.
Oh, shit.
So I'm kind of a hick at heart,
Riding bulls, man. That's fucking wild. How long did you do that for?
Did it all through high school, basically, until I wiped out when I was 18 years old.
Was that back in the day before they had the helmet and the chest gear and all that shit?
No helmets, but yeah, I had a flak jacket.
Oh, did you? So that was around then too as well? Because what year would that be? Was that 90s? 2000s?
Yes, it was 90s.
90s, yeah.
Well, tail end of the 80s, Lane Frost got killed up in Calgary. Broke a rib. And
it was Bull Rider?
Yeah, broke a rib and it pierced his heart.
Shit.
And that's when after that, they started developing these flak vests. Yeah.
I didn't know that, dude.
I rode in an organization called MoCan. It was a youth rodeo organization. Went to a rodeo school and learned how to ride from professional and semi-professional bull riders.
Oh, that's neat.
There was a guy that was 6-time world champion, 5-time world champion bull rider named Charlie Sampson. He was a black guy from Watts, South Central LA. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen a documentary. Have you ever seen that documentary? It's like the Compton Cowboys or the Watts Cowboys or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember what was on Vice or something like that. I didn't get to watch it, but I seen it on YouTube, and I've been meaning to watch that. But they had something like
His
that. His
brother was actually at one of the schools.
Oh, really?
And was an instructor at one of the schools. And then there was a bunch of local guys, a bunch of guys from around Kansas and Missouri that were semi-professional. And I even went back as a junior instructor after, it was right before I got hurt.
Is bull riding big here in Kansas City?
It's pretty big.
Because
it's big in Kansas.
I've been to PBR at T-Mobile.
I don't even know if Kansas Bull Rider Association's a thing anymore.
Oh, really? Because I've been trying to get some people on that do bull riding. I actually reached out to PBR, and I didn't figure I'd get them on, but shot my shot.
Yeah, there used to be a bunch of just small weekend rodeos that were sanctioned, small organizations.
Right.
And then, you had, PRCA rodeos that would come through. You had the American Royal. Mm-hmm. Used to be, what was that place called? Benjamin's Ranch, out by the old Hypermart. There used to be a rodeo arena out there called Benjamin's Ranch.
Okay.
And
is that south? Is that in Kansas or is that Missouri?
It's out close to Worlds of Fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not too far from here.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, so it's not very far.
That's neat.
Yeah, actually, one of my last rodeos that I went to was actually at the Kansas City Stockyards.
Oh, really?
Where the Sprint Center is now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right before they tore that down. I had one last rodeo there. It was.
I thought the Kansas City Stockyards was in the West Bottoms. Isn't that considered the Kansas City Stockyard? No? Oh, okay. Because they have a mural down there in the West Bottoms that says Kansas City Stockyards, I'm pretty sure. I'm taking a picture by it. Right by the railroad tracks in the West Bottoms. Because they used to raise cattle down in the West Bottoms a long time ago, in the early 1900s.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. I'm wrong about the placement of it, where it's at. Here.
Yeah. I know. I need to get a Jamie.
See what that? Yeah, you need to get a Jamie.
Come on, man. I thought you were bringing your laptop.
Just.
I didn't this time. I wasn't at home.
Nah, you're good.
Take me 10 seconds here.
Nah, you're good.
You get a kick out of it.
Go for it. Yeah, I need to get I want to get a professional bull rider, or even a fucking amateur bull rider. I don't care. I just want to pick the brains of.
Right there. That's.
Oh, is that you?
That's me at the Stockyards.
Oh, that's dope, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where the T-Mobile Center is, or.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where they built the T-Mobile Center, was on top of the Stockyards.
Yeah, maybe.
Or some part.
Who knows? Somebody will know in the comments.
Some part of the Power and Light District is on top of at least a portion of the old Stockyards.
Mm.
But it was crazy because you could see, from the Stockyards, you could see the Kansas City skyline.
That's neat.
Crazy bunch of late teenagers out there riding bulls.
Riding bulls.
Riding
what
bulls.
the hell made you want to ride a bull?
Well, my mom barrel raced when she was young.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got raised by a couple of hicks, and my first experience with rodeo, I broke my arm. I was watching rodeo on TV, and I was pretending I was Tough Hedeman at the National Finals Rodeo, and I threw myself off the arm of the chair. I was pretending I was riding a bull.
Mm-hmm.
Threw myself off the arm of the chair, and I broke my arm.
Oh, shit.
My parents were out. They had an old lady from down the street sitting me. And parents come home. It's fairly late, and, I'm sitting there and like this, my arms. And it was a hairline fracture. It wasn't a full-on compound. But they took me to the hospital, and doctor asked my mother, how'd this happen? And I piped up before she had a chance to answer. I said, I got bucked off a bull. And she's just like, the doctor kind of looks at her like, what? So that's kind of where everything started. And, I'd been playing baseball, when I was in junior high school. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really do any high school sports. I'd been playing baseball from the time I was like 4. Started out in midget K and all the way up through junior high. But I told my folks, I was like, I'm really interested in bull riding. And they had heard about this rodeo school that was in DeSoto. It's owned by a man named George Steinberger, and he was an old bronc rider. Mm-hmm. And he talked like this because he got kicked in the throat by a bucking horse.
Holy shit!
When he was younger, and he had that little place out there in DeSoto. It's owned by Johnson County Parks and Recreations now. They've got some kind of a park there now. But he had a boot shop out there, and he was a leather worker, and he also ran these rodeo schools. He had a barn that had a bucking machine in it, and you could go out on, I think it was like Tuesdays and Thursdays. You could go out, and for I think it was $10 a head, you could get in the rotation to get on the bucking machine. And they took me out there, and I think it was 15, and they took me out there, and I got on the bucking machine for the first time, and the first time I got on there, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and they turned it on, and I immediately went just like that, right on top of the front, and then I just started shaking. Mm-hmm. Just the adrenaline was just like surging through me because I was completely had no idea what was coming.
Yeah.
When it happened, and then after that was pretty much all she wrote. They got me signed up for rodeo school, and I went and spent a week, 10 days. Go out there, and there was, probably 20 of us, and some of us slept out in the barn, some of us slept in the house, and they go through and they teach you all the finer parts of riding a bull, taking care.
So you guys stay there?
I'm sorry?
You guys live there?
Yeah, we stayed there for, like I said, about a week.
Oh, okay, for a week.
And it was only 4 or 5 days maybe.
Yeah.
But, during the summertime.
That's pretty neat.
Go out there and, have you do all kinds of different drills, and, riding a bull has nothing to do with really hanging on with your hand. It's all about hanging on with your legs.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about, posting up, and you're sitting on them, and you squeeze with your knees, mm-hmm. and then you push up, chest out, and you just kind of go with them.
Right.
When they come up, you're posting out over the front of them, and when they kick their back legs out, you're leaning back, and they would sit on a barrel, and they would just rock us back and forth so we could kind of get into the rhythm of that. Uh-huh. And I mean, it's all core energy and all legs. There's actually, you can see some videos on reels. I see them all the time. Some of these guys down in Mexico and like South America and shit, riding with no fucking hands. They're just holding on with their legs. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the craziest damn thing I ever seen.
Yeah, that's fucking wild, dude.
But
some of them, their legs are almost shaped like they're still riding on the horse. You ever seen some of those?
Oh, yeah, bow-legged.
Bow-legged? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that real?
Technically.
No, I know bow-legged is real, but like, is it real that it comes from them riding a lot?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I guess so, because like in jiu-jitsu, a lot of guys deal with like a poor posture. They start to hunch over a little bit. So yeah, I could see.
If you're a real cowboy and you're in the saddle, 10, 12 hours a day, and it's no bullshit. They are in the saddle 10, 12 hours a day when you're working out on a ranch like in Texas or something.
Yeah.
It'll reshape your body.
That's true. Just like a truck driver driving in a truck 10 hours a day. Yeah. A lot of them have lower back issues.
My dad's got tons of back issues.
Yeah.
He had back issues pretty much his whole life. He still got them.
I couldn't do that. I have a bad L4, L5. I could not sit down in a truck for 8 hours. That would kill me, man.
I can't sit down anywhere for, more than a few hours.
Yeah.
When I get up, I'm like hunched over and bent. And as long as I'm up moving around, I'm fine. I mean, I run around the kitchen like a chicken with my head cut off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually kind of an athletic job almost.
So how long did you do that for? Just through high school and then it was over?
Just for high school, and I busted my leg real bad, a couple places.
Just step on it?
Yeah, got stomped on. Got stomped on good.
How the fuck does that feel? Like a piston's coming down on your fucking leg, probably?
Well, I mean, I've had worse than that, but I was wearing the flak vest. I actually got stomped on both back legs straight in the middle of my chest.
Holy
I
shit.
had flak vest on
While you were on the ground?
while I was on the ground. I
damn.
got dumped right over the front end of him, and then I landed on my back, and before I even had a chance to get up, he was going right over the top of me. And back feet just came down, back hooves just boom, right here in the center of my chest, both of them. And when they got the flak vest off of me,
Probably bruised sternum.
I had all the blood vessels here in the shape of hooves, right here on my chest.
How big are those? Like, how big do those bulls weigh?
I mean, the ones that we were riding were between 12 and 1,400 pounds. They can get as big as like some of the PBR ones.
Yeah.
Some of them get up to 17, 18, 1,900 pounds.
Holy shit, bro.
There was even some, and when I did semi-pro, I did like maybe 10 semi-pro rodeos. There was a couple there that were 2,100 pounds.
Holy
close to it. Undertaker, the one that actually broke my leg.
You got on a bull called the Undertaker?
I did.
Yeah.
I got on
good choice.
I got on a bull called the Undertaker after I'd already been bucked off of him once, and he was not a pleasant animal to be on in the chute. He did not have a lot of chute discipline. He liked to lay down and he'd like to lean on you. So you get down there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Does your leg get pinned up against the wall when you're in that chute?
Oh yeah.
I've always wondered that.
I'd been in a situation more than once where the bull would leaning
Right
on my right knee,
Yeah.
and they had to literally put a 4x4 through the chute and kind of push him on his side
Oh, yeah?
to get him off of me. And it's just, then I get set and shake my head because, if you fiddle around too much, he's gonna start trying to lean on you again. So I've seen situations where they had to stick because they kept rearing up in the chute, where they had to stick a 4x4 across the back of the bull's neck to keep him from rearing up. And then cowboy shakes his head and they simultaneously pull the 4x4 out and open the gate at the same time.
I always wonder why there's so many guys hanging around there. That's why they're trying to fucking help
you've got
you.
one guy. You've got one guy that's just chute tender, and he's gonna open the chute, so he's gonna be on the outside, and then you've got one of your buddies, or just somebody that works for the stock company or whatever that's just there that's gonna pull your rope for you. So the way that it's set up is you got a rope with you tie a knot in it, and it leaves you with a loop, and then you have you put your hand is right here, and you got a pad underneath it, and then you just put your loop down under the bull's belly, and then take the other end and run it through, and then pull it up, and then they cinch it. You'll say, give me some slack,
That's tight, yeah.
or pull, give me some slack. And you just sit there and you get your hand in there and get you adjusted, and then you tell them just pull it good and tight, and you take it and you wrap it around one time. And some guys will put it between their fingers, which is a bad way of doing it. It's a real good way to get hung up.
Shit.
The way you get hung up is if you go off. So I'm right-handed, so I ride right-handed. So I ride with my left hand, balance with my right.
Right.
And it's my dominant. So
I feel like I'd want to hold on to my strong hand.
You always want to get off of a bull away or into your hand. Sorry, into your hand. It's when you get off away from your hand that your hand can roll over, because bull's taller than you. Your hand rolls over, and it's so tight you can't open it. Oh. That's how guys end up getting hung up, is they get thrown off away from their hand instead of getting, it's not a choice. Sometimes you just get thrown off away from your hand.
Yeah, for sure.
But when
you are riding a bull.
When you hear that buzzer and you get off, they tell you, get off away from or get off into your hand, rather. You just kind of throw your leg over.
Yeah.
But then when you do that, you just open your hand up, and, your momentum is going this way, and there's no way for your hand to roll over because your hand is right down here, So Yeah, it's getting hung up's not fun. I've been hung up a couple times, more than a couple times.
I was wondering how, yeah, because they tie it so tight, it looks like. I'm surprised more people don't get hung up on it.
Well, I mean, once you open your hand, because there's, you treat your rope with rosin, and then you sit there and you heat it up, so it gets real sticky. It's real tacky. But still, once you open your hand, I mean, that's it. There's so much force. It's gonna come undone, and then you have a bell that's on the bottom that's through your loop. You attach it to your loop, so once you open your hand, rope unravels, comes out of your hand, the end of it falls, and then it just drops down because it's got that bell on it. It's got weight, so it's enough weight to bring that rope to the ground, and it just kind of slides right off the bull. But
I didn't even know all that shit was going on. Like, I just thought dudes were jumping on bulls and tying a rope around their hand. Like, there's so much to it than I even imagined.
There's quite a bit to it. You know? I mean, you got your chaps, you got your, your spurs, and you get more points for spurring and get them to go into a spin. That's also part of what the bullfighters are there for. They're there to. Partially, they're there to protect cowboys, but they're also there to try to get the bull to go into a spin. Oh. So because
what a spin is like, just them
when they just start
going,
and some of them will do it naturally.
And you get more money, or you get more points for that.
Well, yeah, you get more points for that. It's if I remember correctly, I think it's 50 points to the bull and 50 points to the rider, as I remember it.
Yeah, because it's been so long since I've been to a PBR, so I don't. But
remember if you can get them to go into a spin, and then you can start spurring them with your outside leg, you'll get more. You'll get higher points as a rider. I was lucky just to hang on, so I didn't do a whole lot of spurring.
What's the longest you've hung on?
Well, I mean, 8 seconds, dude, and I'm done. I'm bailing. So 8 seconds.
So a lot of people achieve 8 seconds. That's not too hard to get. Or is there like a longest? Like some hold on longer than that.
Well, it's actually kind of funny you say that. I mentioned Lane Frost earlier. Lane Frost is the year after he died. Tough Hedeman, which was one of his traveling buddies, had qualified for National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas, Nevada, and that's the Americans' national championship. So Canada's got a whole different thing, but
that's still PBR though.
What's that?
That competition?
No, this isn't PBR. This is National Finals Rodeo. This is the PRCA, Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association.
Okay. Is that bigger than PBR? Because I don't know, like...
It's like, not... I mean, there's a lot more money in PBR.
Yeah, you know how the NFL, then you have the Canadian League, or you have the indoor league.
PRCA that's Professional Rodeo Cowboys. It's as big as it's going to get.
It's like the Olympics of bull riding?
No, PBR is more like the Olympics of bull riding.
Okay.
But, because at Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, it's not just bull riding. It's bull riding. It's all your rough stock events. So you got bull riding, saddle bronc riding, and bareback riding.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, they do.
And then you've got your timed events, which is bulldogging, steer wrestling, or calf roping, or team roping as well. So that's all of those are covered under Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. PBR is just bull riding. That's all they do.
Gotcha. No, but they do some. They brought out a lady and a horse one time, I think, at one of the PBR events I went to.
Well,
and she did what did she do? Did she catch something maybe with her rope? I can't remember what she did.
It was probably just for entertainment purposes, not necessarily competition.
Yeah, how those like I've seen the girls a lot. I'm guessing they have a guys division too. Like,
I forgot barrel racing.
Yeah, when they go around the barrels.
That's what my mother did.
It's insane, dude. Oh, yeah. The way they cut that corner, that horse can cut that corner like that.
You should see pole bending.
What is that?
That's interesting. You got a bunch of poles lined up, straight line.
Oh, like a dog, and they go in and out of them?
The horse goes in and out of them.
Holy shit.
But you got a rider on it.
Yeah.
And it's, I
That
mean,
part
it's
feels weird, dude.
It's an agility event, like, you know, like barrel racing. It's a timed agility event.
Yeah. And if you don't
no,
move
it's
with
cool.
that horse, you're probably getting smacked by a pole.
I'll tell you what, man. I spent a lot of time on horseback, you know, when I was younger, and it's real easy to get thrown off a horse if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I've been on a horse, and that's just scary, man.
I've ridden some cutting horses.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you
I
what,
haven't rode one by myself though. I've
Those
just
are-
been with somebody holding the rope.
yeah.
Oh, dude, I do because I don't know, man. I get scared I'm gonna get tossed off and get paralyzed or some shit.
Well, it's very easy. Hell,
I feel like I'm athletic enough to catch myself and land, but fuck no. I've seen some of these people, actual cowboys, getting bucked off and them going fucking 5 feet, you know,
no,
from the horse.
I dated a woman for 20 years.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship, and her mother had horses, and she had a thoroughbred horse, and you know that horse bucked, reared, and then fell backwards and fell on top of her, and just kind of basically just rolled over her. Excuse me. It ended up breaking her back.
Yeah, that's
She
crazy.
broke a couple vertebrae. Didn't paralyze her, thankfully, but you know, she's got back problems to this day.
Yeah, dude, that cowboy life, man, is so hard on the body, man.
It is.
Like even that, what's that guy? He's well known in the PBR. I want to say his name is Jamie Murray. Is it Jamie Murray or
J.B. Murray.
is it? Is that what it is? He's well known,
Yeah, J.B.
and
Murray.
I don't think he rides anymore. I think he
No.
was done like
No, he
after
doesn't.
a year or two
He
ago.
doesn't. He broke too much shit in his...
Yeah, well, I watched a documentary with him, and dude, I mean, the guy.
No, he just
how old is he?
He raises bulls now.
Yeah, how old is he though?
No, Mooney. Sorry, it's J.B. Mooney.
Mooney, yeah, Mooney.
J.B. Mooney. Yeah.
We were talking about Douglas Murray. I think that's why I had Murray in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was or how old is he?
I don't know. I think he's in his 30s. I don't know if he's...
Dude looks like he's 50. Like the way he
I don't know if
walks
he's,
and
I
shit.
don't know if he's 40 yet. Oh yeah, no, he walks like a crippled old man.
Yeah.
That's another. That's one of the reasons why I stopped. Because
God.
after I broke my leg and I got all healed up, I was thinking about. I mean, hell, I still have a full length leg cast on, and they put me on the bucket machine.
Oh,
that's how
shit.
stupid I was. Idiot. I got chewed out by my orthopedic surgeon too.
Oh, did
she was pissed. She was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
While she's sitting there rewrapping the top of my cast because it crushed the whole back
Yeah.
thigh part of my cast.
That's that old school mentality. Just bite down, fucking do it. Who cares?
But I saw so many cowboys at so many rodeos that were, you know, guys that were working for stock contractors that never really made it in rodeo. And they were just beat up, and you could just tell that they didn't have a very good life just
Yeah.
simply because they were in pain constantly. And I was just like, I started asking myself that question, is that what I want to end up being?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't progressing, you know.
I mean,
I wasn't great at it.
Does anybody like get out of that scotch free?
Exactly.
No.
So I was no,
Have you seen any like that? Like, oh, this guy's all right. I feel like everyone probably takes a beating.
nobody walks away from a career in rodeo.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exception of, you know, the timed events like, you know, calf roping, team roping.
No, but bull riding.
You know,
Like I
bull
feel like
riding?
those guys are probably all fucked up.
No. Any rough stock event, there's a reason they call it a rough stock event. You know, because it's rough as shit. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, bareback riders, saddle bronc riders, bull riders, they all, you know, have a whole host of injuries throughout their careers.
They're probably getting better now, though. They're probably implementing more like exercises and mobility stuff and recovery. Don't you
Well,
think?
sure. I mean,
Or
they're athletes. I mean, it's
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what I'm saying.
and
They're probably
especially,
a
you know,
lot different now.
Even the bullfighters, you know, they're world class athletes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they really are, and it's in, you know, staying in shape. You know, staying in peak physical condition is part of it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, even though they say, you know, it's 90% mental, riding rough stock events. The physical part, as long as you're in good health, you know, the physical, like figuring out the mechanics of it, it's not that hard,
yeah.
you know, but it's,
I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces you explained. So
well, there is, but that's why you have to have your head, you know, zeroed in, focused on what you're doing.
right.
because it's an 8-second ride. So that means you have consecutive split seconds that you can make a decision. And a lot of it is feel. You have to feel your way through what's happening. I mean, there's nothing quite like it. There's nothing quite like being on the back of a 1,700 pound animal that is trying to get you off of them.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a rush.
I know, but explaining that to people, that's like me explaining why I like to ride motorcycles. Everyone's like, this is a death machine.
100%.
I'm like, yeah, you just got to ride it, though, and you'd understand.
Yeah.
It's kind of as cliche as that. I'm sure it's just like a bull. It's like everybody would be like, why the fuck would you want to do that? But I bet you it's a crazy-ass feeling, crazy rush.
It is. It's a crazy one. Like I said, the first time I ever, got on that bucking machine, I mean, I was uncontrollably shaking, and I mean, it was only on for 2 seconds. The second they turned it on, I just ate shit right on the top of it.
Oh, yeah. I rode one of those at the club PBR in Power and Light. You ever rode one of those, Julian?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah, dude. I can barely hang it. Dude, it is. It's all like your knees. Like,
yeah, it's all gripping with your knees and, know.
And don't fight it either. Like, you're supposed to ride with that shit.
Posting up and out. It's just...
Yeah, I hung on maybe for a second, maybe 2. I don't know. I might have been drunk, so.
Well, yeah,
I thought that's what you're supposed to do. Get drunk and ride a bull.
That's not going to go anywhere for you, man. That's going to be a really bad situation. That's going to be a really bad situation.
So during that time, were you still playing music?
Oh, no. No.
So when did you end up getting into music?
I first started...
Well, I guess back into music.
I used to own a house up in Lewisburg, relationship went to put, got rid of the house, and moved back to Shawnee, be closer to my family, be closer to my folks. And my buddy Larry had come back from Vegas. He'd been living out there working on elevators. He's works for the Elevator Operators Union.
Oh, nice.
And he was going to this bar just up the street from where our parents live. And I was hanging out with my folks, crashing at their place, helping them do some stuff at the house before I got a place of my own. And I left Lewisburg with nothing. I just had basically a closet-sized storage room that I'd rented and what I could fit in the bed of my pickup. That was it. I got rid of everything in my life. Went down to kind of a minimalist thing. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I was, helping them out, doing some work for them around the house and shit. And just kind of taking a break. It was during COVID, so, it was 2020. Mm-hmm. Just after they just started opening everything up. I think it was August of 2020 is the first time I went to the poorhouse.
But from bull riding to then, were you playing again?
No, not at all.
So you didn't pick... No.
I've been writing poetry for 20 years. I like to write. Most of it is just for it's for my purposes. It's catharsis, just to get a lot of the purge out.
So instead of journaling, you more do a poetry. That's
exactly.
your kind of
exactly poetry. Short essays, things of that nature.
You ever think about sharing those later on?
What's that?
You ever think about sharing those later on in life? Like publicly, maybe
some
publishing them.
Some of it. I've been thinking about trying to get a poetry book put together.
Oh, that'd be neat.
I got like maybe 60 that are ones that I would want to put out to the world. Mm-hmm. But Larry was like, that's my buddy who was out in Vegas. We grew up together, played football together for Jim Kline, Mark's dad. And he was like, "You remember Mark Kline?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Wasn't he our equipment manager?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Brad's little brother." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, what about him?" He's like, "Well, he's playing acoustic guitar and singing up at the poorhouse just up the street." And I was just like, "No shit." I'm like, "All right, well, like, when's he doing this?" He's like, "Doing it on Sunday afternoons." And he's like, and there's another guy that comes up there afterwards, and he's kind of the main attraction. He was like, but Mark kind of opens for him. And I was just like, okay, cool. I'll plan on going up next Sunday, and I think it was sometime in August. Went up there, and Mark and I had not seen each other. Like I said, the last time we saw each other was Shawnee Mission North's the 8th grade football banquet. That was the last time I had seen Mark. Mm-hmm. And, so obviously he's not going to remember me. I probably couldn't pick him out in the crowd. So, get there, hanging out, he's playing, whatnot. He does his set, and then he took a break for about 10 minutes, and I just went up and introduced myself. I was like, do you remember me? And he was just like, I think he was just like, I think I vaguely remember you. He's like, you wore the cowboy hat, didn't you? So, yeah, and that's actually what they called me. That was my nickname. It's Cowboy.
Cowboy.
Yeah, they called me Cowboy. I would wear my hat to the games. So we would be in our uniforms, and I'd have my cowboy hat on,
right,
walking into the game. I'd take it off and leave it on the bench, but, just kind of, I was me and Larry were the only guys that wore boots and jeans. We're a couple of fucking hicks.
Yeah.
So anyways.
You're probably amazed with this era. Everybody's wearing boots and jeans.
Yeah,
nobody rides.
You know what? I've got 3 pairs of boots. I don't even wear them anymore.
Yeah. They're uncomfortable. Yeah.
I got
Some of them are all right.
I got a pair that wear like Cadillacs, buddy.
Oh, really?
They're $400 boots.
Yeah, I've got a couple $400 boots.
Yeah. They're nice boots.
Yeah.
They're nice
boots.
boots.
What's the material?
It's leather.
It's leather?
Yeah, they're double H's. Double H's they're double H ranch hands is what they are.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the ones that cost a lot, they're right there, actually. I think one of them's like...
some Ariats?
Shark. Yeah, I've got some Ariats upstairs, but one of them's like shark skin, and then I got something else. I can't remember, ostrich. I think those are ostrich. But, yeah, they're pretty expensive once you start getting into, like, the exotic leather and stuff like that.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I have one pair of boots. They fit all right, But I don't know. After a while, walking on a heel, there's nothing that beats a running shoe, man. A sneaker, man. Brother, I'm wearing running shoes more and more.
I'm wearing
now.
my dudes right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I heard those are comfortable.
If I could wear dudes just all the time, it'd be fine with me.
Yeah, I haven't broke down to buy those. I don't like how they look. Going barefoot. Yeah.
When I go out camping. That's my respite,
Oh yeah,
I'll
dude.
go out
Same.
camping. I just walk around the campsite with no shoes on.
Yeah, grounding.
I don't care.
It's good for you.
Yeah, it is good for you.
Yeah.
But I went up and I introduced myself to Mark, and he was like, yeah, I kind of remember you, and he was like, let me finish up my set, and we'll sit down and kind of catch up.
Yeah.
Shoot the shit. I wanted to ask him about Brad and how his dad was doing, how his mom was doing, and whatnot, and we sat down, we started talking, and he mentioned something about writing songs. I was like, I write some poetry. I was like, I got one poem that's actually, the way I wrote it and the way it kind of came out, it's kind of like a song. And he was like, well, show it to me. And I showed it to him. It was this one called Circles. And he was just like, this is really good. He was like, do you mind if I take this and turn it into a song? And I was like, sure, go ahead. Why not? What I got to lose? So he comes back about a week later, and he played it up at the poorhouse. I think it was more like 2 weeks later. He'd come back, and this became a every Sunday thing. Me and Larry going up there, getting too drunk, having a good time. But he sings this song, and it's a fantastic song. You got to have him play Circles for you sometime.
Yeah.
He wrote all the chords. He put all the chords for it, and he came up with the vocal melody for it. He was like, I've got this. He's like, my brother writes a little bit. He was like, and I've got this line. It's just one line. He was like, but it's bullet-holed adobe, dead-eyed soulless baby. Universe don't owe me anything at all. He was like, can you do something with that? I was like, sure. I was like, why not? What do I got to lose? Mm-hmm. ended up writing a song, and he was just like, I just kind of had this feel of like a spaghetti western, you know, like an old one of the old Clint Eastwood, you know, Italian westerns. It's just kind of corny and hokey, kind of story song almost. And I was just like, okay, I'll put that to my brain. And I went home, and in about 6 hours, I wrote a song called Spaghetti Western, using that first line and then building off of it. And Mark already had the chord progression for it. And I gave him the lyrics, and he was like, this is great. And we just started kind of working kind of the inflection points of the wording of the song with the music that he already had prepared for it. And in about a week's time, we had cranked out a fantastic song. Have you ever heard the song Spaghetti Western that he does?
I don't think so. I can't remember the songs. He played the Angel and Demon song, and then he
Yeah.
played another one. I can't remember what that one was called.
That was another one that we wrote together. It was
It's been a couple of months.
not going to be able to remember it off the top of my head. I know what the song is. I mean, I've got I have all my stuff in here. I have, what is it that I use?
Actually,
Google-
let's take a break real quick. I have to use the
Yeah.
restroom
No,
real quick.
absolutely.
Let's take a break.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're back. Man,
Back.
once you hit that 3 hour mark, it's like, oof.
No, yeah. It gets a
I know
little
we're getting
tingly down
close.
there.
Yeah. All right, so we were discussing the song. You showed me the lyrics off air.
Yeah.
Where were we going with that, though? I completely
We
lost
were just,
train of
we were
fucking
just kind of
thought.
talking about the
Oh, yeah, you and Mark and
me
kind
and
of
Mark and how we got together.
Yeah.
You know, and that was when he played that song for the first time live. It got a really good reception. I mean, people were like,
Yeah.
"Wow, what?"
Yeah.
And it became one of the
And that was a song that he played on the podcast, right? Or no?
no,
Okay.
no.
We
That
couldn't
was
find
he
that.
calls it Angels and Demons, and the name of the song though is actually now I'm gonna fucking forget. Walk Among Us is
Walk
what it's
Among
called.
Us.
Yeah,
Okay.
Angels and Demons Walk Among Us.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's where he gets the Angels and Demons part of
Right.
it.
I kind of like that title, Walk Among Us. I
Walk
like
Among Us,
that.
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, Angels and Demons Walk Among Us. Now I can't even remember the lyrics to my own song.
I don't know how you guys even remember
I
those
have a
lyrics
hard
half the
time
time.
remembering lyrics to my songs if I'm not playing.
Really?
It's weird.
I never understood how musicians were able to remember all their songs. That's insane.
I forget
I know you guys sing all the fucking time, I'm sure,
I
at
forget
practice.
shit all the
Yeah.
time, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'll just because I constantly, I don't say constantly. I don't play near as much as I should or would like to, but a lot of times when I play, I'll record so I can go back and I can look and I can analyze what I'm doing and I can
Right.
kind of think about how I can change the flow of the song, you know, melodically or, you know, or whatever. You know, inflection point, did a little different inflection point on this word or on that word, just to kind of change things up and make things a little, or maybe, you know, should I play it in a different key, you know, things of that nature. So, but I'll just to get a good take, I'll play the song like 7, 8, 9, 12, 14 times before I get something that's like, okay, I can listen to this repeatedly. And this is, you know, this is something that I would actually record and show to somebody.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But you know, I do that a lot and just kind of tinker with things. But I make so many mistakes, it's not even funny.
Mhm.
It takes me forever to get a good take, something that I'm happy with. And of course, you know, just like anybody who does any kind of art, they're their own worst critic, you know?
Mhm.
And I already admitted that I have a confidence problem, which is why I
Yeah.
don't play live a whole lot. I just, I actually, like I said, I've been writing poetry for 20 years. And other than like close family, you know, girlfriend, I never showed anybody,
Mhm.
you know, just because I was so self-conscious about it, about my writing. And on a whim, on my 40th birthday, I just decided to show one of my friends who is a high school English teacher. And he was just like, dude, he's like, I had no idea. Like, how long you been writing like this? I was like, like this? Probably about 7-8 years. I was like, but I've been writing for 20. Mm-hmm. Like, how come you never showed anybody?
Yeah.
It's just like, just didn't feel comfortable with it.
Or why'd you get into that? It was just an outlet for you to get the thoughts out of your head?
Outlet for me to get thoughts out of my head. I can't explain it. I had this kind of creative spur in me. It was just like.
But you didn't like see something or hear of a poet that you really enjoyed and you're like, man, I want to try that?
No, not really. I just,
Just one day you put pen to paper.
I think the first poem I ever wrote was. It was for my ex-woman I was with for 20 years. The first one I ever wrote was for her. And I was just kind of pouring my feelings out on paper, about her, about us. We'd gone through a rough patch. And then, she was like, this is really good. It's like, you should keep doing this. Like, okay, well.
Your ex told you that?
Yeah. And her mom saw it too.
Mm-hmm.
She was just like, you should keep doing that. Actually, I think she said, oh my gosh, you could write Hallmark cards or some shit like that. Some corny thing that mom would say.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
So I'm guessing it was something good, not something bad. If you let her read it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it wasn't X-rated. It was
some Wheeler Walker type.
Right. Yeah, no, not at all. But yeah, and then, when I was what was I in? I was probably, I think here for a second. Probably in my, I was in my early 30s, I guess. Yeah. Late 20s, early 30s. Mm-hmm. I was working at a restaurant downtown in a Hotel Phillips. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't sleep. I never slept. And I'd just gotten a Dell computer and I would just sit up and I would write these little short stories, 1,000, 1,200 words or something like that. Most of it was crap, some of it was, about experiences I had had with members of my family, vacations, and I would throw some little ad lib in there to make it a little more, exciting. Mm-hmm. Or, I remember I actually wrote just a little short story about a trip that I took to the Ozarks with my mother. My siblings were with their biological mother, and my dad was out of town on the road, and mom came and picked me up from preschool. I was very young. She came and picked me up from preschool and took me down to see Grandma and Grandpa down in the Ozarks. They had a house down there, Osage Beach. And it was just a really nice, sweet time, with my mom, just me and mom. And that was, I believe that was I would believe that was when I realized that Dad wasn't my dad, and Tiffany and Troy weren't my brother and sister. They were my steps. It was a sweet time that I had with my mom. She was just like, yeah, your dad, he's your dad, he's your stepdad, but he's the only dad you got, and that's but they're your brother and sister, and but they've got another mother. Imagine having to explain that to a little kid.
Yeah.
Not old enough to really comprehend it. And, obviously I didn't. But it was just kind of a sweet moment. I wrote a little story about that. Never showed that to anyone. Actually, I've never said that publicly.
Really?
My mom doesn't even know. She could have known now.
No, I have a similar story too. I wasn't told until I was 14. But what you just said right now kind of makes sense why it was probably difficult for my mother not to tell me. It's like, right. How are you going to tell a child? My, adoptive father, he adopted me when I was very young. So, I mean, I didn't know. I'm talking like, I don't even know, 3, 4, I don't know, 2, maybe somewhere around that area. I never really asked. But yeah, I mean, how difficult is it to tell a child that your biological father doesn't want to be in your life? You know?
Yeah, well,
So I'm sure that's why she didn't want to tell me at all. She had to when I got older, just because of some things went down,
Sure.
you know, and then,
sure.
you know, with actually that side of the family, they found out about me, then, you know, it was kind of inevitable that she was going to have to tell me at some point. So she was like, well, might as well tell him now. And you know, at 14, it's like, it definitely fucked my head up. I had always had my suspicions, you know.
The thing about me being so young then is that it was there and then it was gone.
And then it was just normalized growing up, right? Like you already knew it was okay. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure you still dealt with your struggles for sure. Yeah.
I mean,
like, did you meet your real father?
Never.
So I mean, that's what
never,
I mean.
Never
by
met him,
struggles.
but my godfather had contact with him over the years, and got word to my mother that he died. I was 20. Shit, I don't even know. I was in my 20s, mid-20s, I think. And he died of leukemia. And that's really all I know. I don't, I guess at one point when I was maybe in grade school or something, he was, I guess he tried to like get access to me, you know? Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't think there was any legal,
like nothing blocking that.
Well, I don't think there was any legal agreement between him and my mom that he had like given up his parental rights. I don't think he did.
Yeah.
Necessarily. It was just kind of like, you know, I'm with Rick now, which is my stepdad. And it's just like, you know, this is a thing here, and, you know, just go away. You don't, you know, cause what it really comes down to is that my biological father told my mother, when, you know, she let him know, you know, I'm pregnant, he was like, well, have an abortion and we'll get married. And she was just like, you know, I'm not doing that shit. She's like, I'm going to have this kid. So, you know, once she was with my mom or with my dad, and, you know, he tried to come back into the picture, I guess. And, you know, they were trying to figure out, you know, how to, because they wanted me to take Rick's name, you know, and because I was just, you know, going by my mother's maiden name. Everybody knew me as Fatute. That's my dad's last name is Fatute. My mother's maiden name's Thomas. That's obviously what I go by now. And so I guess that, you know, they needed him to sign over the parental rights or something in order for me to be able to take his name, which I don't understand how.
No, they do, because that's what my mother had to go through.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't understand how, because on my birth certificate it says Thomas. You know, it's my mother's maiden name, and my biological father's last name is Murine.
Yeah, mine was my biological father's last name.
Yeah, see, it wasn't mine. That was my mother's maiden name. It was my grandmother's last name. So I don't know if there was. It was I've never got it made clear necessarily. I don't think I ever really cared enough to ask, because the way I've always looked at it is, you know what? If you didn't want me, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree.
No hard feelings, dude. Sorry you're dead, but you know.
Where were you?
Yeah, exactly. Where the fuck were you? But you know what? I didn't need him because I had Rick Fatute.
Yeah.
And he was a good father. You know, he made plenty of mistakes.
Yeah.
As we all do in life.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
That's what I've always said.
He was a good provider, and he tried to instill in all of us kids, you know, good morals and hard work ethics. Yeah. I owe my work ethic to my parents 100%. So
yeah, same here. It's like I was fortunate enough to have a father come into my life and raise me, And like you said, they're not perfect, but they were there. You know, they raised you. They put food on the table, put a roof over your head to carry your mom. You know, and
100%.
you know, while the other one didn't. So you know, and whatever that whole story was, doesn't matter. The point is that when you have kids, you got to be there for them.
That's exactly right.
You can't pick and choose. You know, and then be upset about how that kid grows up and the outcome of that happens. You know, like
sure.
Where he's expecting. And, you know, I've seen it before, you know, where they're expecting you to just come back in loving, open arms. And it's like, you weren't there almost my entire life, dude.
Right.
You know, for a long time, you know. So you can't expect much from a person that has no emotional attachment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, yeah, I get it. You know, people fuck up and you forgive them and, you know, but it's like, I don't know what you're expecting out of it. It's probably not going to be what you think. Right. So, right. And, you know, like I said, I was fortunate enough that, you know, I had a person come in and, you know, so I didn't like and take that place as a father figure. So I can't imagine how it would be if I already have like my own personal things I deal with of that situation. I couldn't imagine being in a position where there's no male figure in your life.
Sure.
Like your mother never was able to find somebody. It's just you and her. That's got to be difficult, man. You know, very hard.
I mean, you know,
to not have somebody at least to look up to, you know.
I've got a couple of female friends that are, you know,
yeah,
in that boat, you know, they don't have, you know.
Yeah, you got to have that balance, you know, that male feminine balance, you know.
Exactly.
It really is very helpful for a family.
And I mean, you know,
and there are shit fathers, and I'm not saying every father.
You know, bless their hearts, you know, they can, you know, do the best they can at being both, but they're not going to be exactly what, you know, is needed for that stability.
Yeah,
you know?
And a lot of them realize that.
And
I've
I have
talked to
you know,
a lot of them.
Hell, I dated a girl, you know, just a year and a half ago, who raised her son on her own. Yeah. You know, and she did a hell of a job. She did a bang up job raising her kid. You know, he's a very it
definitely can be done.
You know, but
all
she
I'm
had,
saying is
you know,
the balance to male and female
and
dynamic.
That's something she even confided in me. She was like, you know, it was just I wish there would have been that male role model. She was like, I did the best I could,
right?
You know, but I wish there would have been that male role model to, you know, bring him along a little bit more.
Oh, for sure.
So
yeah, I've definitely talked to some women that have said the same thing, man. It's just, it's hard. You know, I get it. I couldn't imagine being in the dating world at an older age, you know, and having to figure it out, or even in your 20s, you know what I mean? It's hard. It's difficult. So who do you trust? You know, this person acts like a good person, but piece of shit.
Dude, it is a house of mirrors out there. It's so hard to trust people.
Especially to find someone to raise your kid, man. Oof, that's got to be
it's no shit.
Fucking difficult, man.
That's why it's just crazy. My mom and my dad, and it's just like, you know, knows her for 2 days and it's just like, yeah, I'll raise your kid. It's cool. Totally cool.
That's crazy.
You know, let's make a go of it. You know, it's like, who does that?
Yeah.
You know?
And I know the saying is like, they don't make men like that anymore, but I've actually met some people who are like that, man, who will take in a girl and her child and raise that child as their own. Like, well, one, I'm, you know, living proof, you're living proof. Yeah. And, but there's a lot of people, even to this day, I know everyone feels lost at this generation, and I get it, but I still see a lot of good people, like young people, you know,
no, 100%
that are doing good things and stepping up.
I don't think all hope is lost at all. Mm-hmm. You know, I think, I think young people have I think that they see that they have an obligation, you know, in life. Not all of them. But there's a good crop of kids coming up. Actually, I got a couple that work with me. You know, they're hardworking kids, and they're, you know, they try to do the best, and they're always asking questions. And you know, we all try to give them the, you know, best advice that we can. And you know, it's just it seems that the ones that make all the problems are making, you know, they make the most noise, so they get the most attention.
Right.
You know, it's always the, you know, loudest person in the room is usually the weakest.
Oh yeah. Or like even in families, there's always that one family member that's always just causing fucking trouble, and everyone's always trying to help them all the time. It's always like they get the most attention. You know what I mean? Like everybody has that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in society. It's always the ones that are the loudest and the ones always doing dumb shit, the same repeatable shit all the time, and they get the attention. Makes no sense. You know?
I mean, that was me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was a little shit. I fell out of my mom rebelling against everything. I had my moments where I was a sweet kid, but you know, and I knew to mind my manners when I go over to somebody else's house. But
for sure,
you know, when I'm at home, I just ran fucking wild, and my parents couldn't keep controlling me for shit.
Yeah.
You know, eventually
it's probably hard for your dad being over the road too. You know, he wasn't there.
Yeah, it
to
wasn't
be
easy.
Able to,
wasn't easy. You know, I mean, and I did not make things easy on my mom, especially when I was a teenager. I really didn't. That's, you know, I generally say I don't have a whole lot of regrets in life, but that's one of them.
Yeah.
You know, that I made things harder on my mom than they needed to be.
Yeah.
You know, but fuck, I was a kid.
The
hell did I know?
We all have regrets, man. I wish I was a different kid growing up too, you know, but what can you do? You know,
I think we all to a certain degree wish we made some different choices. Yeah. But the thing is you can't dwell in it. You can't dwell in it. You can't live the rest of your life on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You gotta, you know, recognize, oh, well, I could have done things better, but you know, I'm going to do things better now.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that, you know, my mom does, you know, she's told me many times, she's like, there was many a nights that I was expecting to get a phone call, you know, saying that you were, you know, you'd either done something really naughty or, you know, you were dead.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, and she's like, you did all right for yourself. Mm-hmm. She's like, you know, she, you know, tells me, she's like, you know, I'm proud of who you've become. So, you know, I can feel okay about that, I guess.
No, that's good, man. Yeah, so, it's not good. Dwelling doesn't do anything but, man, just keep you repeating the same, you know.
Well, yeah.
Same mistakes, the same issues, because you'll just never get out of that mindset. And, you know, I've dealt with it as well, too. It's hard. It's hard to move forward, you know. Sometimes you get stuck. But, yeah, you just got to keep, you know.
You just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, and you got to figure it out, man. I mean, there's so many different, like you said, you know, you like Jordan Peterson, along with many other guys that I've listened to on podcasts and have really helped me be able to understand myself and really work things out. You know what I mean? So
I know what you mean.
Definitely 100%. Been beneficial. But you got to do the work.
No, you got to do that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, and you know, people, you know, make a lot of noise about, you know, changing, but they don't want to put in the hard internal evaluation.
Yeah,
and that's, you know, I mean that's really something,
because that means they're wrong, and nobody wants to be wrong.
Exactly. At least of all, you know, people don't want to be wrong about themselves. You know?
Yeah. Well, Rhett, I wish we could.
No, you know what? We've done 3.5 hours. This is crazy. Yeah.
I know we didn't even touch much on the music, man. That's why fucking politics, man. I love it, but I fucking hate it at the same time.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. Let's cut real quick, and then we'll get you all set up and at least play a song or two. So,
okay. Right. Sounds good.
Yep.
Turn off the news, sipping on brews. Sunday afternoon, never felt so right. Sun going down, music on my mind. Time to cut loose with some whiskey and wine. Getting on dusk, no need to fuss. Sipping this old guitar for my nightly buzz. Got friends in the crowd, buying me another round. Feels so right on these patio nights. Patio nights, it feels so right. The swilling wine, killing time beneath this overhead lights. On this patio night, it's killing time. It before I die. Lifelong friends, brothers until the end. Sunday afternoon is when my fun begins. Worked all week long, now it's time to play. I'll be damned if we shouldn't do this shit every day. Guitar man plays all our favorite songs, shouting out our requests, then we sing along. Don't fret tomorrow, we're gonna live today. Patio nights drive us to our grave. Patio nights, it feels so right. Swilling wine, killing time beneath these overhead lights. These patio nights, just killing time before I die. Just killing time before we all die.
And you were worried, Rhett.
Yeah,
that was fucking great,
messed
dude.
Up a little bit of lyrics, but
dude.
I'm happy with that.
That was fucking great, man.
Thanks,
That's awesome, dude.
it.
I gotta get out there and fucking see you guys, man. Every time he posted on Facebook, I'm like, I got something planned. I promise, and especially to the other guests, I'm gonna make a tour here soon. I gotta go check everybody's shit out, man. Dude,
absolutely.
Especially that, man.
Absolutely.
That was fucking awesome, dude. What was that song called?
It's called Patio Nights, and I actually wrote that. I wrote the lyrics for that song. I wrote the chords for it too.
Yeah.
And that song is actually, if you listen to the lyrics, it's actually about Mark. My perception of Mark, him getting ready to go play a show, music's on his mind, playing his guitar for his nightly busk, because people who busk, you're familiar with that term. A busker is somebody who plays for tips.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't really get paid, but he plays for tips.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of my perception of Mark from back in the day, and just back when we first met, and then lifelong friends, brothers till the end. That's me and my buddy Larry. That we played football for his dad, and we've been buddies for the entirety of our lives, pretty much. Or even our fathers ended up they even knew each other when they were kids.
Yeah,
we're all just a bunch of Shawnee boys. But it's that song is kind of about that whole patio scene there at the poorhouse.
Yeah,
that's Patio Nights.
I love it, dude. I can't wait to hear more of your guys' stuff, man. And honestly, if you think about it, you two being together is so new, Yeah. I mean, the singing and the songwriting and stuff like that, that's all new for you guys. What is that, 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, our schedules never link up. So if we could spend 2 days a week, for 3-4 hours each time, really work on stuff, we could get some stuff done.
Right.
Excuse me. Unfortunately, things don't always work out the way we want. I've got 2 jobs. He's now got a regular job type job on top of doing the music gig at night.
Well, I would say too, like, does technology help to be able to record things and send it to each other, like via Google Drive or something? But you kind of got to be together, don't you? Like in person be able to get that vibe.
It helps to get that vibe, to get that, I mean, we could probably do it like that where, he lays something down and then, I throw some lyrics to it or I lay down a song with, a rhythm and some lyrics, and then he comes in and puts some leads over it. And that's how we generally work, kind of back and forth with each other. I've when I get a creative idea, I want to get it out of me. So since we're not spending a lot of time together, it's hard for us to have like a kind of a jam and jive session where we're, bouncing things off of each other, and we're actually doing a thing where each one of us is writing a part of the song, which is kind of what we did with Spaghetti Western.
Right.
He did all the music for that, and then he had that one line, and then I kind of added the rest of the lyrics in, and then we kind of, figured out how the song was going to sound together. I'd like to do a lot more of that stuff with him, but, it's harder to do that when you don't see each other so much.
Yeah. Full-time job, like you said, obligations. I get it, man. Well, dude, I hope I hope somehow you guys can get your schedules aligned, and, I'm definitely going to attend one of your guys'
I felt really
gigs,
good about
so.
that, what we just did there. You want me to try one more?
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right, try one more and we'll have a listen.
Yeah.
I'll get out of your hair. This one's called, what's it called, Rhett? This one's called Cure for the Blues. Claim to have all best intention, but your mind's invention. Blur the line between love and lust. Not to mention all the dissension that you sow to break down my trust. Well, I got the cure. Girl, it ain't you, no, I got the cure for the blues. They say a drunk mind speaks a sober bit of truth, and that's how I found the cure for the blues. Act like the victim while you paint me the villain. You were never willing, no, to meet me halfway. Standing here crying, you're out there lying to yourself. What more can I say? Well, I got the cure. Girl, it ain't you, no, but I got the cure for the blues. They say a drunk mind speaks a sober bit of truth. That's how I found the cure for the blues. That's how I found the cure for the blues.
Fucking great, man. Another fucking banger.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Hey, Rhett, I really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you giving me the time, man. This was awesome. This was awesome.
We'll definitely have to do it again because we still have a lot to unpack, really, in your life.
Got a billion things we could talk about.
Yeah, I found out you're a fucking bull rider, fucking poet, musician. What don't you do, man?
Next time, come on, I'll read some poetry.
Yeah, there you go. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks a bunch, man.
Mm-hmm.